Tapos, the second one will be 3 words that describe your week. Okay. Yung cute ng Baymax, grabe.
Naunahan nga ako, dapat magtatadashi ako. Ayoko na. Ayoko maging creator ni Alo.
No. Kahit sinong tanungin mo sa youth ministry, I'm Baymax.
Actually, my Prince Charming is here in the call.
Grabe naman.
Prince Charming.
Hi, Prince Charming.
May face reveal ba? Camera open later.
Yes. Yeah, may camera open tayo. Magaganap later. So, cute naman yung Olaf. So, hi guys. Change your name na. So cute. Go, nahiya ako. Wait. I think we'll just wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll properly start na the event. Olaf likes warm hugs. And then from Baymax, 3 words that describe his week is excited, thankful, and anxious. Why anxious though?
Yeah, you know that I'll be traveling on Tuesday, and then I really want to protect myself so I can travel. At the same time, increasing cases here at tsaka sa US. So parang every night naka-travel restrictions, check ako even yung kung may additional requirements na kailangan. But that's all. But really excited for this break that I really
Who is Philo? How do you read this? JMA. Who's JMA? Why sad though? Incompetent pa rin gobyerno after a week. I knows that.
Yan lang pala yung sagot niya kapag nagba-body catch-up kami.
Okay, sige. Acceptable. For Ola, keywords that describe his week is reflective, brain-racking, and collaborative. So that's nice. Li Shang. Sino si Li Shang? Siya ba yung dragon? Sa ano? Is that it? Okay, I think we're complete na, no? So we can start. Wow, 16 participants. Thank you guys for coming in. Okay. So important reminders. This is an open camera program, so except for those who are saving data. So please do open your camera, guys. I want to see you all. And please do mute your audios unless you want to speak or share something. And don't just only listen, but ask questions and be engaged and participate as well. Oh, Mulan, hi. And lastly, keep an open mind, heart, and soul. So enjoy the session. Okay, for now, let's have a group photo. Everyone.
Nika, sino yung Juvia Luxton?
Okay, guys. Let's take a photo. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Ang cute niyo all. Naka-open camera kayo. So nice.
JZ, who's your fictional character?
Okay, let's begin. So welcome to SDG-LEAP Huddle. SDG-LEAP 2021. For today's huddle, we are going to talk about Project Management 101. So attendance check, I think most of our leapers are here naman. So thank you for joining the call for today's session. Okay. So for our huddle 4, our agenda will be our recap from the previous SDG Con and huddle. And next one will be our discussion of the Project Management 101. And we also have workshop for today for the communications for social change. And we're gonna have an overview of our SILE project template as well. And for the breakout, we are going to have our mentoring session. So for our leapers, we're gonna meet our external mentors and as well as our buddies later. And lastly, reminders. Okay, for the throwback, let me call on Nika for the Huddle 3 and for the SDG Con for Alloy.
Sorry. Sige, pa-share na lang ng screen pa rin, Colleen. Okay. So, hi, Leapers. It's been a month since our Huddle 3 and sana natatandaan nyo pa din sa mga naka-attend yung mga napag-usapan natin noong Huddle 3. So, generally, Huddle 3 is named as Ideate. So, ano ba yung mga pinag-usapan natin doon? Siyempre, it revolves around ideation. So, mostly, nagkaroon tayo ng mga activities regarding project ideation. Naalala nyo ba yung games kung saan merong isang object na pinakita sa screen and paramihan kayo ng creative uses for that object. So, nakakatuwa kasi ang daming leapers na nakapag-participate. And not only our leapers, nandun rin yung ating mga CYLI bodies. So, na-meet rin nila last session yung mga CYLI bodies and nakisama rin sa iba't ibang activities. So, isa rin doon, after our project ideation, there are different examples of project ideation as discussed by our very own Kuya Jap. So, has any one of you remember some of the project ideation techniques that we have discussed? So, pwede bang pa-type in sa chat box the different ideation techniques? Tingnan natin kung makikita, kung natatandaan pa ng ating mga leapers yung previous session. Hala. So sige, kapag merong nagsagot dito, that would mean additional points for our houses. Okay, so si Roxelle from Northern Advocacy Seekers, brainstorming. Yes, isa siyang example ng project ideation. So wala na bang iba pang hahabol from team 2 naman? No empathy mapping. I think it's not covered as part of the project ideation techniques. Pero we have also discussed empathy mapping sa talk naman ito ni Miss Goldie Yancha. So ilan sa mga examples is yung two pizza rule, ganyan. Tapos serendipity walk. So natatandaan pa ba natin? Ako, we have to watch the recording again sa Huddle 3 para matandaan pa natin. Pero you have your own project ideas naman na. Pero anyway, after Kuya Jap's talk on project ideation, we also have Miss Goldie Yancha na nag-workshop about the design sprint. So, doon na rin tinalakay yung sinasabi ni JM na empathy mapping. And then, we also introduced to you our friends from Young Lives and DOT. So we have international friends na nandito sa photo. So nakakatuwa kasi we have someone from Malaysia and from Spain who talked about the platform that is used by global youth leaders to discuss the different sustainable development goals. So yun nga yung hashtag We the Future na meron sa Discord. So that's all for Huddle 3, and I hope we also, yes, Serendipity Walk from Clara from Mulan. Thank you. And we hope na dito sa Huddle 4, marami rin kayong matutunan just what we had in Huddle 3. So, throwback for SDG Con, Kuya Aloy.
Yan, maraming salamat, Juvia Luxer. Maika. Ayan. Para naman, subukan natin, no, dahil maligayang buwan ng wika pa rin para sa ating lahat at buwan ng kasaysayan. Kaya naman, noong huling araw ng Hulyo, bilang ano na rin pagsimula natin ng buwan ng kasaysayan sa ating komunidad sa SILE. So, meron tayong ginawang Sustainable Development Goal Conversation 4 na may titulong Kabataan, Kultura, Komunidad, KKK Conversations on the Role of Youth as Advocates of Arts and Culture in the Digital Age. At ito ay kasama natin sa programang ito yung mga partner agencies natin or institutions natin. Katulad ng NCCA, Project Saysay, Grupo Kalinangan, PETA, Sustainable Towns, Linya Linya, FEU Theater Guild, Historical Conversation Society ng UST, Kidapawan Youth, Macy at ang Abot Tala Community. Next slide please. Ayan po. So ano ba yung mga nangyari na nung araw na iyon? So sa pamamagitan ng mga na-invite natin ng mga speaker, tinulungan tayo na lalo pang mapalago yung ating, ayun, wait lang. So ako na ba mag-share? Sige. Wait lang.
Nawala ata si Colleen.
Sige, I'll share the slide. Permission to share my slide. Ayan, okay. Salamat. Okay. Yan. Kita naman yung slide. Yan, kita na. Okay, salamat. Ayan. So ito yung ilang highlights na nakuha natin. Salamat sa mga naging digital photographers natin nung araw na iyon. So meron tayong naimbitahan na national artist, si Rio Alma or Virgilio Almario, na nagbigay sa atin ng paunang special message. At sinabi niya, no, sa atin kung ano ba yung mga maaring maging role natin para i-promote pa yung arts and culture sa digital age. Pagkatapos ito ay yung mga plenary speakers na natin yung sumunod. Natatandaan niyo pa ba si Miss Beverly Say, si Miss Tracy Santiago, tsaka si Mr. Jonathan Balsamo and Mr. Carl Castro. So sa mga sinabi nila, isa sa tumatak din sa atin, no, lalo na yung hamon sa atin ni Sir Jobal. Anong sinabi niya? Hanapin daw natin ang puso at pusod ng ating bayan. Nasaan nga ba ang puso at pusod ng Caloocan? At bilang isang taga-Caloocan at sa mga kasamahan natin dito na nasa inyong mga kani-kaniyang mga bayan, nasaan ang puso at pusod ng inyong mga bayan? Gayun din, hanapin ang iyong puwang sa universo ng cultural work sa inyong bayan. Parang Miss Universe lang, no? So anong sinabi ni Miss Universe Sozy? Take a space, take up a space. So, iyong puwang sa university. Anong puwang mo sa Caloocan? Anong puwang mo sa komunidad? Anong puwang mo sa LEAPer? Ayan. At sinabi niya, hanapin ang iyong mga kapuso at kaputol sa gawain ito. No man is an island. So, magkakasama tayo para sa pag-advocate na to. Kaya naman, nire-remind ko rin yung bawat isa na yung inyong mga challenge hindi pa tapos, di ba? Ayan, sa mga kailangan pa gumawa. Sabi din ni Carl Castro na nasa digital media tayo, mag-ingat tayo sa digital media. Mag-ingat at maaring, yan, ano ba yung mga danger na meron tayo. Ngayon din, tinulungan tayo na lalo pang ma-inspire ng ating mga anong tawag dito? Yung mga panelists natin para sa promotion ng arts and culture. So, andoon si Alice Sanggalang ng Linya Linya, Michael Angelo Tabuya ng Project Saysay, at si Well Silvestre ng PETA at ng FEU Tetriskill. So, iba-iba yung forma pala ng arts. So, pwede kang performing arts, digital arts, or even yung cultural arts or yung tinatawag natin na iba't ibang ano tawag dito forma ng art. So hopefully kayo din baka meron kayong mga pwedeng mga masimulang proyekto with regard to promotion of arts and culture. And nagpapasalamat tayo kay Bern Patrick Bautista at Louis John Sanchez sa pagiging host at pagiging moderator sa panahon na yun. So back to you, Colleen.
Thank you, Mika and Kuya Aloy, for sharing. So let me just share my screen ulit. Sorry, nag-cut lang. Hold on. Okay. For the next one is for our SDG Con project challenge for the KKK. I think Mika have sent the email previously. So, ayun. Sino na nakagawa sa inyo ng challenge? Meron ba? Wala pa, guys? Why?
Sila Kuya Edwin.
Okay, anyway, for our SDG Con 4 challenge, so I think we needed to visit a historical or cultural landmark in your city, make a social media post about it and the relevance of arts and culture in today's society. And then for the next one, we need to share it, yes, sa social media natin. You can guys create any art for it, siguro video na or voice recording about that, and then use the hashtag CYLIKKK and then post.
Colleen, I would also like to remind everyone, our dear
Okay.
leapers, for the challenge to comment the proof of you doing the challenges sa ating respective threads doon sa Leap Facebook GC natin. So, lahat naman from SDG Con 1 to SDG Con 4, nandoon yung challenge threads. And I hope na makapag-comment kayo doon once na nagawa nyo na yung challenges. Any proof lang. Yan lang. Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. I think one created a poem. Oh, it's Twinkle. Hi, Twinkle. Would you like to share your poem? Okay. Sige. Okay, for the challenge house points naman, still for the SDG Con 1, the Urban Agri Kit, we have Twinkle and Clara. That's +3. And then for the SDG Con 2, for the register to vote, we have Brian, Enzo, Clara, and JC. SDG Con 3, HIV test or awareness, we have JC, Roxelle, and Clara. I think for the arts and culture, we can now input Twinkle. Kung meron pa, guys, please do let us know. Okay. For the total house points for the Northern Advocacyers, we have 349 points. We have Twinkle, Mark, Vince, and Jeff. For the group 2, 397 points. We have John Marie, Clara, Viel, Joy, and Enzo. For the group no name, we have JC, King, Kent, and Cecil. They have accumulated 266 points. Okay. We also have new body groups update. For the Northern Advocacyers, we included JC in the team. And then for the group 2, we still have John Marie, Clara, Viel, Joy, and Enzo. Okay. Our SDG-LEAP journey, we are already in the huddle 4. So Ayan. I hope you learned a lot during the Huddle 1, 2, and 3. And then, especially here at Huddle 4, I hope mas solidify natin yung knowledge natin in order to provide our passion projects na we wanted to implement. Okay, I think Kuya Jap will discuss about our timelines. Kuya Jap.
Thanks, Colleen. Let me screen share. First of all, thank you guys for, again, taking time for today's session. We know that it could be challenging sometimes, especially if you're doing a lot of things. And also back to school na yung karamihan sa inyo. So it really means a lot to us and to the program. And as mentioned by everyone, especially by Colleen a while ago, we hope that you have been learning so far since we started. So parang, wow, we started May and it's already August. Parang sobrang bilis lang ng mga nangyayari, right? Okay pa ba tayo? Can we see heart reacts if you guys feel like you're still learning and there's still a lot of things that you want to also learn in the process? Yan, happy to see the heart reacts. So as you can see here, we started May for Huddle 1 where we launched a program. Then there's Huddle 2 and Huddle 3. Balikan lang natin yung ating framework, why we're doing this and what we hope to achieve in the process. And siguro emphasize na lang din na what we have been saying from the get-go, that this is a pilot program and your inputs are very important to us as we try to, make adjustments while we're running the program. And also as we hope to launch the second batch hopefully next year. So as mentioned, hopefully you guys can also be facilitators or mentors for that batch. So kayo yung first batch and we hope to have a few more batches after you guys. So, okay. I think just a throwback. So as mentioned, SDG 1, SDG Huddle 1, we did it in May. You got to learn about SILE, what the program is all about, expectation setting, and also a bit of getting to know you. Pero we're also recognizing that medyo baka kulang pa yung team building. So we plan to integrate siguro more getting to know you sessions in the coming huddles. So for example, in September, maybe meron pa tayong pwedeng magawa. Since we're also limited online, right? So by the way, we got the highest case of COVID yesterday. Please please keep safe as always. And hopefully you already have your vaccines. Pero yun, while we're online and on lockdown, we try to really take advantage of digital technologies. So kung hindi nyo pa na ma-maximize yung CYLI bodies ninyo or your one another basically and your mentors later, as always, it will be appreciated. You can message them and also ask your questions anytime lang, PM lang kayo sa anyone in this call, anyone in this group. And then, okay, so punta tayo ng June. So last June, we had Bella from UNDP Regional to talk to you about SDGs. And SDGs is a big concept. So hopefully, you're also trying to learn more a little bit more about the SDGs by reading, by attending other webinars, by searching on Google. Kasi sobrang dami talaga na pwede pa at dapat pa nating matutunan about SDGs. Also, if there are specific SDGs na feeling nyo dapat we should be covering, let us know also. And as you know, the SDG conversations, it's really our platform for you guys to learn all of these things. So when we tackle about HIV promotion, for example, sige, recitation. So when we talk about HIV prevention or HIV awareness, ano yung mga SDGs na covered when we talk about that specific SDG, specific advocacy or program? Can you guys put them in the chat box or you can unmute yourselves? Anong SDG si HIV prevention? Okay, I think one answered. SDG 3. Okay, ano yung SDG 3? Sino to? Si Peter Pan. Peter Pan, what's SDG 3?
About good health and well-being.
Good health and well-being. Okay, that's correct. Anything else? Meron pa bang SDG na nako-cover si Sexify or si HIV prevention? That's very good, Mark. I think that's really one of the top of mind SDGs pag pinag-usapan natin yung HIV/AIDS. But there are other SDGs na covered din. How about, sige, I'll volunteer. Voluntold. Roxelle. Ito, yung field mo actually.
Pwede po siya sa qual-ed or I think pwede rin po siya sa gender equality.
Okay, that's very good. So those two SDGs are also included or touched on when we talk about HIV prevention. So I guess the point really that I'm trying to make is the idea that there's intersectionalities when I talk about advocacies. So hindi siya kailangan one-on-one. So one advocacy, that's one SDG. For example, when we talk about arts and culture, it's also sustainable cities. It's also about quality education. It's different things. So yun, just a reminder, because when you work on your project template, you will also be writing the different SDGs that you're trying to cover. I've been hearing the different proposals from Northern advocacy seekers, and sobrang diverse and different SDGs yung covered. So go as early as now, think through it. So again, we had Bella. We tried to talk about the different issues in the communities from the perspectives of youth leaders in government. So we had Tubit. We also had from Children International. So yung mga babad sa grassroots. Last session, we talked about project adjacent. So na-cover na yan kanina in the summary. And for this session also, while we had the agenda, just a reminder or just a note that we will be covering about project management. So last time we talked about how to do brainstorming, how to think about projects. This time, we will deep dive on ano ba yung project management cycle? Saan ba tayo nag-start? How do we end? Ano ba yung project? How do we define project? Although na-cover na yung bits and pieces last time. But this time, it will be really about PM, the PM cycle. And we also have, I'd like to take this opportunity to say hi to Jem. We haven't met formally, but thank you for saying yes to our invitation, Jem, from Impact Leadership. And also, I think Ryan is the one using the YCL Philippines.
Yes, that's
Thank you.
me.
Hi, Rai. Welcome to the call. And we're excited to hear from you later also. So, ayan. So we'll be doing project management 101. Maybe touch a bit more about stakeholders management if we have time, and also resource management. Okay, so for September, we'll be doing project pitching. Paano ba mag-pitch? So if you have limited time to talk to a partner or to a funder, how will you prepare your speech? How will you prepare your how will you talk to these people? If you're going to be parang stuck in an elevator, ano yung script ninyo na pwede nyo masabi? Promoting or selling your idea. And then October, we'll be having the final pitch. Pitching skill is actually an important skill for not only for youth leaders, but for change makers in general, and also for if you work na in your professional lives, it's something that you can use talaga. Sorry, I think I'm taking a lot of time. I'll pause here. It will be a very insightful and productive day, and we hope you can grab your water beside you, make yourselves comfortable wherever you're seated, and yeah, happy SDG huddle to everybody. Let me give back the microphone to Colleen.
Hi, thank you, Kuya Jack, for that. Okay, we'll just have a little icebreaker for this session. So, a quick icebreaker lang. So, for our icebreaker, guess the country. The winners, top 2 winners will receive a load from care of Kuya Aloy. Okay. Chat nyo lang yung sagot, guys. Okay, we'll begin. Can you guess this country? Anyone can answer, I think. Okay, let me just check. Iceland. Biel got the first one. Correct. Okay, for the second one. We have Doraemon. But I think that's Belgium. Yes. Okay. Third one will be guess the country, guys. Habol. Correct answer is Thailand. Okay, for the fourth one. Poland. Emax. Let's see. Correct answer is Philippines. Okay, for the fifth one. That's a poop. Is it a poop? Okay. Let's see. It's Poland. For the sixth one. Yup, you got it right. Iran or Iran. Seventh. Okay. Can you guess, guys? I think someone got it now. Pakistan. So weird. Okay. Okay, seventh one. A peace sign, R, and a key. Yup, that's Turkey. Ninth. Oh, what's that? Can you guess, guys? Oh, okay. Let's see if it's Germany. Yep, that's Germany. Okay, for the last icebreaker. Okay, I think we got it now. Oman. Okay, guys, we'll just tabulate the scores. And then for the winners, please do message us. Thank you. Okay. Let me just unshare a bit. Okay. I think I'm good. Okay, for today's session, so we are going to discuss about project management. But before that, I also have a mini activities for you guys. So if you can go to Mentimeter or menti.com, use the code 20822661. And then for easier access, you may also scan this QR code. Go, guys. Let me know if you can access the Menti. I have not seen yet anyone who is in the Menti. Okay, we have, okay, let me just share the screen. Okay, for our mentee question, what comes in your mind when you hear the word project management? I think Peter Pan is raising his hand. Yes, Peter Pan, want to share something?
Sorry po, nag-raise po ako na hand kasi nasa menti na po ako.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. Guys, I think only one is in the mentee. How about the others? Okay. Well, I'm seeing leadership. What's the who thing? Change, tiring. Oh, it's not tiring. Organization, development, manager, designate, collaborate. I agree with the collaborate. Hectic, change, and passion. How about the others? I'm just seeing 4 here. 6. We're now 7, 8. Financial stability. Can chart. Pitch, work, advocacy. Few more guys, you can still join the mentee. Why who? Is it that taxing to you guys for the project management? I think it's not. Okay, I think we got the responses na. You know what, guys? All these answers are valid naman. There are some na medyo hectic. There are also some na medyo nakakapagod talaga when doing the project management. But for today's session, I hope we can change your mind when it comes to project management. Okay, let me just unshare. Thank you guys for answering the mentee. Okay. So for today, I'd like to introduce to you guys our speakers. He is an operations program senior specialist at Habitat for Humanity International. And I would like to thank Ryan. That his Ryan, Louis Madrid. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ryan. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And I will now be opening the floor for you.
Hello. All right, can everybody see me and hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, hi everyone. So my task today, is just to give you a bit of more, quite a deep dive. I don't know if the time that's given can allow me to really deep dive, but I would siguro engage in a conversation with you on what project management means. I'll share some of the tips that I use professionally in my time during when I was still I think I'm still a youth leader. Tama ba, Jap? Youth leader pa ba tayo? Parang counted pa tayo dyan, no? But so it's mostly a sharing, no? But I'll share my screen as saglit. If I could just quickly saglit, give me 1 sec. Okay. I understand some of you have had an overview of the project on how to ideate. No? So hopefully this is going to be a follow through of that discussion. Everybody can see my screen? Okay. So what really we want to cover for today would be 4 things. Number 1 is we're going to identify the principles of participatory participation in project development. And then I'm going to go on to discuss the processes involved in doing participatory projects. And number 3 is to identify or to walk you through some tools and techniques in using participatory planning tools. And finally, some of my thoughts on how young leaders should approach project development, project ideation at this time and age. So this also serves as my outline for my presentation. Hopefully I can wrap this up in 20 minutes, but let's give it a go. So I want to start really the way that my presentation is structured now is I want to start with principles first, and then I'll show you the process, and then eventually let's go to the tools. I was told, no, and I can discuss some tools and techniques, but I really want to make sure that we all understand the principles first. Because the tools, if you're a carpenter, even if you have the best saw, the best hammer, the best kahoy or cemento, it will not be of any good use if you as a carpenter don't know what you are building. So it's important that we understand the principles first. So I'm not sure if you are familiar with participation and if it is even something, or baka you're born with the knowledge of this already, kasi it's not as new as a concept as during our time, but participation really is, according to FAO, the Food and Agriculture Office, in 2014, they said that it is the equitable and active involvement of all stakeholders in the formulation of development policies and strategies, and in the analysis, planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of development activities. It's a very long definition, but what it actually just says is that the people that we want to work with, the community that we want to help develop, should always be involved in all stages of our projects, especially in the planning stage. So I've highlighted their involvement of all stakeholders in development activities. If participation is a way of thinking, it is, it's along the lines of good governance, it's along the lines of inclusion. If it's a huge discussion, but the opposite, not the opposite, but before there was a discussion on participation, the idea talaga when people develop, we need to develop a country or a community, the idea is always diffusion. Diffusion in this case means that whatever has been successful in our context, we can just transfer that technology, that innovation to your context, and it should work. And if you look at how the world has developed over the years, diffusion was the way powerful countries have helped develop the less powerful countries. So concretely, what's, for example, what has been useful, or the way of thinking, the politics, the processes, the constitution, whatever, in America, for example, it could work in the context of the Philippines, or it could work in the context of Afghanistan. It could work anywhere else. That was the thinking before. But right now, participation, the framework of participation challenges that, because the idea of participation is that we, the one receiving the aid, the support, the help from you, in this case, when you do your projects, we, the community, we have to be part of the planning and the development of this particular initiative. All right, I'll tell you why that is in the next couple of slides. But what I want you to understand in this particular slide is that when we think of projects, let us not think of ourselves as, if I go to this community, I will know what your problem is, and I know exactly what the solution is. If you go in with that kind of mentality, then I think you should rethink the way you approach development, the way you are as a youth leader. The idea of participation is that we go to a community, we work with them, we understand their context, and we co-develop solutions with them and for them. All right. So that's why you have to be involved in each stage of the project. And I want to hammer this down at the very beginning, because again, you are now starting to think of projects with the community, right? A helpful mnemonic that I use myself when I think of the principle of participation is really this one: develop. So if you forget what the principles of participation are, this could be helpful. It may not be exhaustive, but this is helpful. So D stands for dialogue. When we approach projects, especially even if you in your professional life eventually, when it has to be based on dialogue. Dialogue meaning two-way or multiple ways of getting information, multiple ways of communication. It's not as if, okay, I'm gonna go there, this is what's wrong based on my observation, and this is how you should do it, right? So it's me talking to you, right? But dialogue is that, okay, person one, what do you think are the challenges in your community? This is what I think. What do you think? Ikaw, person two, what do you think? Person three, four, five, what do you think? No, it's allowing conversations because people have different perspectives and ways of thinking. So that's the dialogue. E is empowerment. This basically means that when we leave, no, because a project has an end date, right? And you will move on to other parts of your life. But the intent, sana, is that when you do a project, you leave a community empowered. Ibig sabihin, they will have learned something. They will have, increased the capacity for something. They will have been left with something that they can build on, even if wala ka na. All right. So the power rests with them now. And an important portion of that, when we talk about empowerment as the end goal, is really about the voice. So when we say voice, it means that if there are 5 people deciding what will happen in this particular community, at least one seat there is held by the community. Because they will have their voice. They can say what they want. They can be part of the decision making. So we will not silence anyone. Okay, how? We will not silence anyone. Criticism is healthy, and we welcome that in this case. And then E, the fourth one, is about when we go to a community, we are using resources that are already existing to them. We are not introducing something new. We can do that, in some cases, but in a lot of cases, if we are introducing something, a technology that they don't use at all, or they have no idea, it will not be successful. So it would always be good if we create projects where we leverage the resources that are already existing in the community. L and O are kind of related, It's just really about the idea that this project is not driven by you as the leader, You are the catalyst, but this project is not you alone, The project should be locally driven. It should not be driven by what you want, what you think is best. It should be, the decision should be around what the community thinks is best for them. All right, because that will build ownership. And in the time that your project, your 6-month project ends, they can continue doing it. It will become sustainable. All right, and I think that's really that should be really clear. And lastly, Pino, is that sometimes this is going to be hard. Using participatory principles in the way we do things is going to be hard because it takes time. It involves a process. Imagine every step of the way you have to involve the community. It takes a lot of time, but this is what we mean by process oriented. We are not using participation as a tool to achieve a predetermined goal. We want the families, the communities that we are serving to determine it by themselves. By doing so, our efforts, our investments, our project will have more impact because they themselves have been through the process, they have owned it, and this is what they actually want. All right. That was a quite long explanation, but really that would be, think of it as, when you think of participation and participatory development, these are the main principles around it. Very quickly, is really just, I want to end this bit by saying that why using participatory frameworks, participation as our main principle for doing things. Why is it important? 4 things. Number 1, it's really a multiple way learning process. We are not experts, right? There are experts on health, doctors and everything, but in the grander scheme of things, we all bring something to the table, right? Even if you are the best social media person out there, there are things that you may not have, that you are not aware of, that the community understands or other people know better. So when we do participatory approaches, we allow different perspectives to come into play. And that allows us to really understand the problem and create stronger and more informed projects and ideas for solutions. Number two, and for me, the most important is that it really allows the community to drive, to own that particular initiative. Because again, if this is a project we're making, a project has an end. And we don't want to be going inside the community, doing something for 6 months, leave them, and then the effect is that they were not able to actually get anything out of it. The worst thing is that mas nagrabe pa yung sitwasyon nila because of what you did, no? So it's important that when we create projects, again, no, that the community is involved and they own it. Number three, when we do participatory approaches, that means we're allowing different partners to come together, including our politicians, our government, the businesses, no? So that will strengthen their political and institutional support for that community. Number three is the very goal of this, no? By applying participatory approaches, there's a gradual process of empowerment. We leave the community empowered to determine their own development. All right. So I hope that this bit is clear with participation. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this is that the primary people that you want to serve, they have to be involved in the process. Okay, and involvement could mean many different things, but at the minimum, they have to be consulted about what is going to be done, how it's going to be done, and how do we know that it's successful. All right. If you want to research more about participation, please, you can Google, no, but there's a lot of discussion about that, and that is really the way to go. Okay. Having said the principles, now I want to go now to the project management process. I would assume that some of you have had experience on at least implementing a project, or maybe heard it from a friend from your previous conversations in the SDG huddles. But just a recap, siguro, no? Again, a project is a very specific activity or set of activities. It has an end, it has a start, it has an end. And because it has a start and an end, it's very important that we design it really nicely so that it builds on the other projects that might come in. All right. So what are what are the different things or stages in a project management process? So I'll show here a couple of models because there are many models on how project management is done. But siguro the very basic is this one. So you start with initiating a project, you research a community, you try to define their problem and think of solutions. This is all happening in your head or happening with conversations with your friends, with your teammates, or you are part of that community. So it's already here, no? The initiation stage is when you say, okay, I will do something about it. I will do a project, all right? The next stage that comes after initiation is really the planning. No? So now that you said, okay, I want to do something about this particular one. I have my skills, I have people that I can tap, but what exactly are we going to do? So that's why you create a plan, no? With activities, with schedules, with tasks, and how you're actually going to get all of those resources. At the end of it, you would have, I understand, si Jap mentioned earlier, no, I heard na there is a project proposal template that you will be using for this purpose. So at the end of this planning stage, a project proposal will be created. No, it lists down the activities, implementation, and all that. So I think that's very important. I have some slides about that. I'm not sure if I have time to discuss that, but it's good to know that there is already a template. No, after the project proposal has been approved and may pera na kayo to actually do things, now you implement it. So you start executing the activities, outline the project plan, and then alongside, you also monitor, no, make sure that the execution is in line with the project plan. And eventually, after, let's say, 6 months of this project, you now evaluate if this is, if everything that you planned have happened and learn from it. No, what are the things that went well? What are the things that didn't go well? So it comes to a close, right? So I want to say that this is a very simplistic and very linear way of looking at project management. No, some of you who may be more advanced there are more complex project management processes, but for those of you who are just starting out, this is a good guide. Another model I want to mention is this one. It's called the P framework. The idea is that it loops, no? It loops. It's not linear. It does not start with A and then goes to Z. This one, similar phases, inception, planning, implementation, and close. But then the evaluation goes back to the planning stage, especially if they see now, if this is a 6-month activity, on the 3rd month we realize now, okay, we're not achieving the goals we've set. No, let's go back to the drawing board and start planning again, right? This has happened a lot of times, especially during the pandemic, when there were projects created before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened. It kind of changed everything. So that's why they had to go back to the 2nd stage, which is planning, to adapt their implementation plans moving forward. So this is more iterative. It's circular in this case. One other thing that I want to share, siguro, is another simplified na a project management cycle. No? So 4 phases lang sa kanya, similar as the first one, but it starts with participatory communication, appraisal, an understanding of the community. And then number 2 is the design of what projects to do. And the phase 3 will be the implementation, and 4 will be the assessment. So there are many other models that as I've mentioned, no, but these are the very basic ones. And I want you to understand this from a macro level. Eventually, pwede natin siyang himay-himayin pa what actually is part of each of these phases and stages. No? Now I will move on to to some of the tools that you can use in each of these processes. This was the first model that I showed earlier. No? So some of the things I like doing, and should be part of it, no, is in the very beginning, so you can do participatory rural appraisal. I will talk a bit more about that later. You can do stakeholder mapping, you can do SWOT analysis, you can do resource mapping and matching, and so many other planning tools. I'll show you in a bit where you could see a repository of these planning tools. But the things that I would like to highlight in my session would really be participatory rural appraisal and a stakeholder mapping. So that comes in the initiation stage. Now, when you go to your planning stage, so it's good that you already have a proposal template, a format. No, that's one of the tools that you can have when you do this 2nd stage. Some of the other tools that may already be within that proposal format would be your Gantt chart, your budget plan, your M&E plan, if there is, your risk management plan as well. So very important, is the planning stage, because this is really where you concretize all of the activities, all of the research, all of the interviews that you will have done with your community. So this one puts it all together. If you want JAP or Colino, I for sure you already have your template there, but if you want how we could integrate the conversation around here with your template, let's find time if we can do that. No? But I think we're aligned naman already in that way. When you go to the 3rd stage, the implementation, usually what you have here would be an implementation plan, which is just a more detailed planning for your Gantt chart in the proposal template, right? So your days, what kinds of things would be there, if it's an event you're thinking about, who needs to be there, what are the logistics and all that. No, so very specific details. The 4th one is the monitoring. So monitoring sheet is what would be the tool that you have here. No, and all of these, the implementation plan and the monitoring sheet, are closely connected to your proposal, to your project proposal, which you develop here in the 2nd stage, which is why I think this is extremely important, the 2nd stage. The last stage is closing. So this is when you evaluate the project and you complete all the documents, and some of the tools that you can have here is evaluation forms. So I think some of us are familiar with these tools. There are other tools, but what I do want to mention in this particular slide is that, remember when I said earlier about the framework or the thinking about participation? No? There are so many ways of involving communities in all of these stages. I'll discuss this a bit. No? The first stage, initiation, how we could involve the community. Planning, we could also involve them, especially in terms of verifying that this is the plan that we are seeing together. All right. For example, if you already crafted your proposal template, I would advocate that you also share that. Before you share that and before you accept that as, you know, as your plan talaga, have that be read or be validated or discuss that with the community that you wanna help out. No, implementation plan. There are so many ways that we could work with them. For example, in terms of resources, if you have the expertise around this, then maybe baka the community could provide the venue to implement the project. No, so it allows them to be part of the process still. Monitoring. There are also many ways of doing participatory monitoring. No? So sometimes kasi when we monitor, we'll just gather our core group and then, oh, what do we think? Do we think that this we are still aligned? This is this and that, no? But we sometimes forget that in monitoring, we have to ask how the families, the communities are also thinking about it. Do they think this is what should be achieved at the moment? No, they have to be to be part of that. And there's you could do this through, let's say, a community. So most of my examples are very community level because that's where I had worked before, but it could be different in your case. But in our case, the way we did our participatory monitoring is we would always gather them once a month. It's a conversation, it's a dialogue basically, and we just have, you know, some key questions there. What are the challenges that we have right at this month? Do we think our plan is still on the way? What do you think, right? And then from that, we gather those thoughts of them and we discuss it with our core group and with our strategic council, the group, no, of the, we call it the strategic council, the decision-making body basically. 5 people are there, but 1 seat is with the homeowners association president, myself as a project leader, the barangay kapitan, for example, and then a business representative and a religious representative. So that's how we did our collaborative na project. And similar with the closing, the point is that in each of these stage, there are ways that the community can be involved. And I want you to remember that always. If possible, always involve your community, because it is a project with them and for them, right? It's not a project that you are creating for them only, right? So remember that all the time. Now I'm gonna move on to this one. I can share this slide with Pauline and Guano and Jap, but this one gives you some of the more detailed steps on how to do participatory activities in the different phases. But this is a bit longer discussion, so I'll leave it there, but you can, of course, check it out. But at this point, what I want to do, siguro, is share with you some of the techniques, some concrete examples of what you can do. No? So again, this slide, that I'm referring to are the tools here in the first stage when we ideate projects, when we try to understand a problem, when we try to identify what entry points, no, we can go into and create a project on. The idea really here is that we want to understand the problem. This is a very key thing. Never start with a solution. All right. Your solution may not be the one that they actually need. So palpak. All right. I'll give you an example. In Marawi, there during the siege, a lot of help came to Marawi. One particular assistance that came in, with a good intention, nagbigay sila ng bangka, boats, because with the assumption that families that have been affected in Marawi are late people, late Lanao, So it must be that they are fishermen, so they would need boats. They gave out the boats a couple of months after. No, the boats were never used. They just stayed there by the banks of the lake, because that's not actually what was needed in the community. Maybe for some people, no, that's what they would need, but those particular families that were given boats, those are not the things that they need. They needed at that point, seeds for their farms, or education, or shelter, something else. So again, when you are at this, when you are trying to provide assistance, trying to go there and create a project, always create a project that is based on a need, no? Based on an understanding of what the problem is. All right. And we can only understand the problem if we do two things. Number one, we could do initial research, documents from before, looking at statistics, looking at demography, desktop research. No, number one. But number two is validating that by actually having conversations with the people who are affected, asking them what they actually need. So never start again. And I have a beef kasi about this. Doing a project that never put the people at the center. It's this is a separate conversation. But what I'm saying is that always try to understand what the problem is. Go to the very root of it. So some of the tools that you can use, participatory tools that you can do, no? Of course, are interviews. You go to the community, you ask them. Personal timelines. Personal timelines are when you give them, let's say, a meta card, or anything creative material, even putting it as a floor lang, pwede sa sand. But you can ask them, if you could tell me a story about the experiences that you have had here, what would you say? What is your story? No, this kasi allows them to internalize, to think about what happened in the past with them and with the community. For example, if this is a context of in my line of work, relocation programs, no. So we would ask them what their personal timelines are. So before and after the flood, because they were affected by the flood. So they would say, this is what we were doing before. I was a fisherman, or I was a tricycle driver, and then this happened, this happened, this happened. That's why I got here. That timeline provides you with more details on where people are coming from, right? And then they are the ones, and then it must be true because it's coming from them. It's not from some secondary data or secondary source. So that's a personal timeline. 3 is ranking. This one is most helpful. It could be helpful everywhere, really. But if you have a group of, let's say, 10 people from the community, you ask them as a group, what are the top 10 problems in your area? And so they would discuss, right? And then eventually they would rank it. But the good thing there is what's helpful to you as a catalyst, as the youth leader, as someone coming in with a project, with the intent to do a project, is that the community, have already ranked the problems for you. All right. So it's not you saying, I think this is your problem because this is what I saw, right? This is your problem because this is what they said so. All right. So that's why I like ranking, because it really, at the end of it, kasi it will boil down to priorities. You cannot answer all the problems in the world, all the problems in that community. But if you could focus on 1 or 2, what would this be? And the ranking matrix, no, will allow you to do that, right? Social mapping is another one that I like as well. It's creative, especially if you're new to the community. It's basically this one. Let me see if I could. Ooh, I cannot make it bigger. Pero, okay, but anyway, social mapping is this one. This is when you let the community, walk, draw, and understand the community that they are in. Some of the social mapping activities that we've done before is that, okay, draw the community and then identify where the people are living, right? So they draw, here is where people are. Then next, identify where you think the risks are, right? So where nagbabaha, or where there's a slope that children could go down, or a place where there's a possible risk na magka-fire. So that one allowed us now as the project implementers, no, to understand, oh, this is what they think, this is their perception of risk, and this is where those risks are located, right? So that really gives you an idea of how to intervene, because it is based from their experience. The other one that always I suggest you do, it's hard to do it now because it's a pandemic, but a community walkthrough is also very important. It's a very good exercise. Exercise na, I don't know, what do you call this? Figuratively and literally, because you have to go around, and also figuratively, because it gives you a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes, no, when it's a new community that we go to, of course, we sit down in their office, try to speak with their tribal head or their community head. But then after that, we go around, no? So that he can actually point to us. Oh, that's the thing I was talking about. You know, that's where the children would go because we don't have toilet facilities. That's where they tae. All right. Or that's where one person had an accident before because we didn't have these following things. All right. So community walkthrough allows you to really visualize what they're trying to talk about. It's putting yourself there. One of the things I missed here, no, is an immersion. If you're new to the community, then it would be good for you to immerse yourself there and experience the way life is lived in that particular community. But sometimes, no, for example, in Caloocan Youth Leaders, baka the projects that you're thinking are also within the community that you are already involved in. I will caution to that, no, that's good because you have an understanding of that community, that because you're a resident there, right? Or you're a part of that community, but still don't just trust on your lived experience, how you've experienced things. No, always ask the others pa rin. Kasi it could still be different how they are seeing challenges, all right? So those are like an overview lang of things. Some of these you have to do in person, but because it's a pandemic, it's hard to do these things, no? The great thing, before I share you the great thing, is that I want to highlight this important thing, no? That again, I've been Sirang Plaka saying this over and over again, but I want this to be very clear. At every stage of the project development, involve the primary stakeholders. Have a conversation with them if the plan and how it's implemented is still reflective of their own plans and priorities. I'm just in case we're not clear what we mean by primary stakeholders, no? So stakeholders are the people, the organizations that are involved in this project, those who have a stake, those who are involved. So this could be you, the families that you want to serve. Let's say if this is in the school, so the school administration. If this is in the barangay administration, the businesses in the barangay, if they have a stake on this, no, the parents teachers association, if they are involved as well. So these are all stakeholders, but there is a primary stakeholder, the one that will most benefit from this initiative. So it could be, let's say, the street children, or the students who are lacking skills in mathematics in your school, if they are the people you wanna help out. Or it could be the low-income tricycle drivers who have been affected by the pandemic. No, so they are the primary stakeholders. Secondary stakeholders are those that can help in the project. So, for example, the barangay can help in the ayuda or the vaccination and things like that. All right. Just want you. It's best if you can engage all of them. That's very difficult to do, but at the minimums, engage and involve the primary stakeholders. Going back to tools and techniques. Oops, sorry. Okay, I'll quick show of hands, not show of hands, but like, if you could just like type very quickly on the chat box, and also for me to see if you're still alive. If you could tell me, just say yes or no if you're familiar with mural. Mural, M-U-R-A-L. Just type if you're familiar or not familiar. And Colleen, let me know if I'm taking so much time or something. Okay, perfect. Everybody says, almost everyone's yes. Perfect. Okay. Now, those things I mentioned kasi, these tools and techniques, no, a lot of them we can't do, limitations and things like that. I'll share you a very quick story of how we did our participatory planning in a community of 600 families. So that's about 5,000 individuals in a relocation community in Cagayan de Oro City. So it's a series of conversations, but there's 3 scales, no? Per block, we had a community planning per block, and per block there's about siguro 20 families. So per block we had a discussion there. So there are only 3 key questions I think that we asked. No, what are your visions or your plans or your dream for this new community? Because again, they're relocated families. They're new to the community. What are your dreams? What do you think are the challenges? And what do you think should be done? So like recommendations and things like that. 3 lang. And then these are families na tricycle driver or mothers with their babies or everyone basically. And we scheduled this on a Saturday. And so we put the Manila paper sa mga hayhayan. So sa hayhayan, and then they would put their meta cards. They write, "This is my dream," and then plap. All right, and then mga meta cards basically. And so the next activity was that, okay, so can you group together those that are similar? And so they grouped it, and then we had a discussion about it. Tapos after nun, the responses to that, no, we escalated to the homeowners association level. So we said, this is what we, according to that level of appraisal, participatory planning with the blocks, this is what we've got. Okay, so what do you think? All right, so another session with them. And after that, we went to the barangay level na naman kasi they're part of a new barangay. And so the barangay council were there, the businesses and all that, until it was built into a master plan. No? So that allowed for people to be involved in the planning process. Now, I share that because that's something you can do really nicely. It's very good exercise if you don't have a pandemic. But Mural has all of these tools. No, I'll share my other screen lang of some of my favorite tools that are in Mural, and I really encourage you to use them. And I'll end my discussion here. Basta ang haba na. There. Okay. And siguro we could. Okay. So one of my favorite things is this one, the stakeholder mapping thing. I wanna siguro keep you here in this section. So it's in Mural, no? And if you're familiar, you can easily find this stakeholder mapping. This one really gives you a chance to identify who you should be engaging closely with. All right. It talks. There's so many people kasi that you can partner, but some of them may not have the power to actually do this. No, I'll give you a quick example. Before that, so there's 2 main things lang here: influence or power, which is the x-axis, and then the y-axis is that their interest or their availability to work with you on this. I'll give you an example. You are doing a mental health program in Barangay 5, all right? Because if, according to your research, a lot of students there have been experiencing some mental problems and or some challenges, and you wanna involve, you wanna do a project there. And so, if it's barangay, naturally you would work with the barangay head. They have the influence, they have the power. But let's say, what if they're not interested or they don't have the time and the availability to do this? No, so you can either put them anywhere here in the boxes. All right. So you can say, okay, well, they have high influence but low interest. So maybe just put them here, some monitor. No, but let's say there's a school there that has the resources, that has the power, that has the money, no, to do it. So they are high here, And then they also have the time to say they have like a school of psychology or whatever or something. No, they have the resources. So you put them here in the actively engaged. And then let's say there is a youth local coalition something something. Not the SK, pero they're a new organization, but they
I think Ryan had a connection problem. Am I right? Can you guys hear me?
Yes po.
Thank you. We'll just wait for Ryan. Yeah, I thought ako din. Na-cut.
Ayan na yata siya.
So far, guys, how's the project management discussion to you guys? Any questions from our dear leaders?
Hello.
Hi, Ryan. I think we lost you a while ago.
Sabi ko nga nagmo-monologue na ako eh. Sige, pero I think that was also a good cue for me to end the discussion there. Maybe there's so much information that we're talking about here already. No, but what I want to say is that I was already at the end of my presentation. But the thing is, those tools and techniques that I mentioned before, they are now available in more collaborative and adaptive ways now, such as in Mural, Jamboard, and things like that. But I like Mural because they have templates there. There's a lot of tools you could use, you could discover, and I hope you really use them to your advantage. One final thing I want to say lang talaga is that when you use these tools, again, remember, if you are a carpenter, there's no use having a really good set of tools if you don't know the principles. You don't know what you're building for. All right. So I want you to, again, if there's only one thing I wish for you to really, that I hope was clear and that you walk away, putting it clearly in your minds, is that always involve the community, the primary stakeholders in every step of your project, especially when you ideate and when you plan, because that's the very beginning. So I will end there, and I wish you good luck in your project ideation process. And I'm so excited with the things that you can do in your communities, in Caloocan, and in the Philippines in the future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ryan, for that. I actually love the discussion. So by the way, guys, I'm using Mural as well back in my work. And also we're using Mural for the project management. That's one thing, that's one tool actually. So okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, guys, we're opening the floor for questions for Ryan. And if you guys want to share your something, you may unmute your audios. Okay, someone raised his hand. It's from my Prince Charming, Einstein Rojas. Yes?
Yeah, great presentation. All these frameworks got me wondering myself, no? Um, of course, project management doesn't seem to be as perfect as it may have or as it was presented. What do you think are the hurdles and challenges that the participants should be aware of throughout the process, and perhaps those challenges can help them prepare themselves in the future, something like that. You could share, expound more on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's I like how the question is asked, because it is asking essentially what are the, if there's one thing that should be considered when we create projects and implement them, what is that? So thank you so much for that, Prince Charming. I want to say, really, it's about focus. It's about focus. It's being clear on what you want to achieve, what the project is all about. Sometimes the challenge, kasi moving forward, this is, especially if it is a group work, and I've seen this in a lot of youth-led programs. The interest, the the level of enthusiasm is so high in the very beginning, and then in the first part is planning, and so they plan all of these great plans. We'll do this, we'll do this. We've communicated this with the barangay, and this is what we have all created as a plan. The plan is so great, we love it. Now comes the implementation, and let's say this is an implementation activity, or implementation period of 6 months or 1 year. That's a lot of time, right? And sometimes this is where it becomes challenging, because people's enthusiasm would have gone down. So it's what you've planned most probably will not, some of them won't happen. This is where organizational and leadership management really comes into play. And you end up getting frustrated, not doing your project, or doing your project at a very minimum na lang. And then you close it, and then that's it. And sometimes in this process, because you don't have strong buy-in from people already, you don't want to engage the beneficiaries, not beneficiaries, the target, the primary stakeholders anymore, right? So I think that becomes a failure. And having said that, those are the challenges that you will encounter moving forward, especially if this is advocacy work and this is not, a paid work. So having said that, in the planning stage pa lang, just be very clear what the project is. Again, the project has a beginning and an end. So it is, in the grander scheme of things, there's so many problems, and you are answering one problem, a specific problem, and focus on that. That would be what I would say, especially at this stage. If this is something new to you, there is a principle, among humanitarians and development workers: do no harm. If this is something new to you, you will of course learn from this process. But what about the people that have been involved in this one? What if it becomes a failure? To you, if it's a failure, then okay, let's move on. I'll learn from this. What about those people that have been engaged? If this becomes a failure, chances are they would not trust other people again, because there was a cost in terms of time, opportunity cost for them to participate in your activities. If it becomes a problem, most probably it would harm them, not necessarily physically, but their idea of partnering with other people. So what I would say at this stage, if you're new, focus on on a thing that you can actually implement. And you will know that when you do your resource mapping, resource matching as well, no? If it really requires a lot of time and you are not able to commit to that, I would say scrap that. Pivot, find something that's more actionable. So the final answer to the quick answer to that, Prince Charming, no, is focus and realistic planning.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. I hope it answered your question, Prince Charming. Okay, we also have another question. So what's gonna be your top 2 tips for budding youth leaders, especially those who are in high school?
I want to build on Siguro with what I had said earlier, because that's one. Really focus is is very important. And I don't wanna gravitate more into that point because I hope that was clear in the previous one. But the second tip, siguro, is that, and this is a bit of a you might say it's predicting what I had just said, no, but I would siguro say dream big / be innovative. All right. And I think the first step is this one first. Dream big, be innovative, explore, be creative. Ask questions, explore possible examples, right? But these are all happening in your head or happening with groups like this, people who can understand you. Don't engage yet in this creative process, a particular community. So what do I mean by be creative, dream big, read things, read case studies, listen from people who have come before you, like people like Tobit, Goldie I understand was here the previous times, Jab, Colleen, those that have been here before or have done projects, who have had experience. Go ask them, like, oh, so do you think if we do the River Maningning project here in Caloocan, do you think this is going to be possible? You're exploring, you're thinking big, looking at ways to innovate things, right? But that do that, and I think that's very, very important. But eventually, when you go to your when you actually do your project, you plan your project, this is where you need to become realistic. All right. If it is realistic that you apply all of these innovations in your own assessment, no, go ahead, by all means, work on that. Especially if this caught the attention of a possible funder, or the barangay, then you would get more support. Then most probably you're mobilizing a lot of resources to make that innovation happen, right? But I would still caution, that if you think, this is where you assess yourself, right? If you're a high school student, do I have the time to do this? Number one, do I have the skills to do this? Number two, if I don't have the time and the skills to do this, do I know of people or organizations that can do this? Because if yes, then link this innovation to those people. Have them do it, not you. Or you can be a volunteer there, right? If you, in your own personal assessment, you can do it, you don't have time, you don't have the skills and things like that, no? The best thing you can do is link them to people or organizations that can do this, all right? But if you think, this is a calculated risk, we can do this. I may be a high school student, but this is something that I personally have a strong passion about. I know people in this. I am a victim, for example, of this particular thing, and I have a strong commitment to this. I will go forward and do this, right? Kasi it's also about looking at scale. If it's a scale of your purok, let's say your purok is more manageable versus doing it barangay-wide. So barangay-wide, baka hirap. Or Caloocan-wide, ang hirap. Or Manila-wide, baka hirap. If you don't have the necessary support, no? So maybe start small, right? And if it becomes successful, which I hope it will, you can replicate or expand that, right? But now you would have already the experience, the tools, the networks to do it better. So a quick answer to your question, I think that was from a high school student, is be creative, ask questions, dream big. Number two, assess yourself, be realistic, and focus. So those will be the two main things.
All right, thank you. I hope you guys learned a lot from Ryan and for this project management topic. So for the next one, so I'll be presenting our certificate of gratitude to Ryan Madrid of Habitat for Humanity International. So for serving as a mentor for the young leaders of Caloocan, as a speaker during the SDG Sustainable Development Goals, Leadership Enhancement and Advocacy Program, or SDG-LEAP Huddle 4, held on the 21st day of August 2021. Signed by our President, Marlon Peralta, and our Executive Director, John Paul Uña, and SDG-LEAP Huddle 4, which is me. So thank you, Ryan. So let's have a group photo, guys.
Thank you, Ryan.
Learn so much,
Hey.
a lot.
Jap and Colleen.
Actually, may question akong pahabol eh.
Okay,
I'm not
go
sure if you
for
have
it.
time.
Sige. Pero, so Ryan is actually used to work for the US Embassy managing YCLE program. So YCLE is the youth program of the US Embassy. My question, Rai, would be, having worked with a lot of these youth leaders across the Philippines, the first question would be, what's the common theme or common thread that you observe when they propose, implement projects? And then secondly, what are their top three, siguro give top three YCLE-led initiatives that you think the members of this call, the people in the call, should take a look at for sort of a case study or something? Ayun, two questions. Medyo ano lang, top of mind lang siguro because I think a lot of these questions should be thought more deeply.
And it does link, I think, to the next step of this program, right? When is there going to be like a pitching thing going on, right?
Yes, they will
So,
be pitching.
Yes, as Jap mentioned, no, a lot of the work that I did before and even now at Habitat is really reviewing proposals, and it comes with the power or the authority, no, to provide funding to groups. And while we love all the enthusiasm of people, proposing all of these projects, what would make a successful project is, number one, is if it really is anchored or based on a need. I read a lot of innovative na mga programs, and very innovative. Let's use tech. Let's use this. Da 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 da. And while it could work in some areas, then perfect. Sige, go. But I would need to see how actually answers a particular problem, right? Because that if you are not able to see that, if I am not able to read that in your proposal, it will tell me that you did not do your community needs assessment. There's no why. No, walang why na that's moving you to do this project. Okay, so that's number one. It has to be based on a need. Number two is that I like always seeing, and they have been successful now, those that show partnerships, those that show that we partner with the community. We've actually done our community needs assessment. We work closely with the barangay, but we also work with, let's say, DOST. We work with the media, or we work with DA. We work with JCI, or we work with Rotary or something like that. It tells us, and if they could say, that Rotary provided X amount for this project, or DA will provide seedlings for our reforestation project. That tells us that you've actually built not just a very small project. What you did was to mobilize resources, build partnerships, and that will tell us that when we support this, it will be most likely sustainable because there's a lot of partners helping out. All right, so show that. So the thing is, show that when you write your proposals, that you have partners, you're working with these partners. Number three, this is siguro one thing I also want to caution lang ha, na be clear with your why. Be clear with why you are doing this. Sad to say that this is a very small percentage. Sad to say there are people who do this for clout. This is just me, nakita ko lang na ano ko lang, why would you do something like this when it doesn't really address a particular problem? At least it's not clear in the proposal, but it has a lot of parang almost like the intent is to raise that particular person or organization's profile so that they could gather more people, more funds. And that to me is a red flag. So siguro the reason why I wanted to put that in my three things, is that let's be authentic here. While it is good that we are trying to develop, ourselves as a leader and our organization, to help out our communities, let us not forget that it shouldn't be a selfless aim, right? It shouldn't be for us. It should be for something bigger than us. We can be part of that story because we're developing ourselves. So, but that shouldn't be the biggest thing about it. Makikita mo when you read proposals na nagpapaklaut to. Alam mo yun. So, and especially when it's an interview and then it really comes off. So the action point to that is just always question your why. And that will, the best way to do that is do the participatory tools that I mentioned earlier, live with the community, understand the community, so that it does not become your story. It becomes your story plus their story, all right? So those three things, if I were to summarize, is number one, a proposal has to be really banked or anchored or based on a community need. Number two, it's really great if there are partnerships. And number three, show authenticity, no? Show how do you show integrity, you know? And those are the kinds of leaders because we're looking for, people with integrity. All right. An example of things that I really like now, YCL funded, would be Ridge to Reef Young Leaders Camp. It's a systems approach through water conservation, working with the IPs, the river folks, and the downtown folks, no, to prevent another flooding. This was in Cagayan de Oro City. Another one that I really like, it's an agripreneurship program in North Cotabato. They also won a Tayo Award for it. The other one, another thing, nota ko may head lang it's Modern Nanays. They were basically creating a network of breastfeeding mothers all over Mindanao. And then they've had challenges, but then the why is very clear. You know, alam mo yun. Those are the things that I could think of. I'll let you know if I have more. But Tayo Award, most of the Tayo Awards then, I think some of them are not all, because others have something issues, but go check out Tayo Awardees then. They have very, very good programs and validated. Okay. May pang tanong, pwede pa ba mag-ano?
Colleen, do we have time?
Sorry, Mindanao.
Actually,
Mindanao
kaya
lahat
po
yung ano ko, example.
Ay, okay.
Isa
Oo nga,
pa.
Mindanao lahat.
Last na from Mika. Mika, would you like to ask?
G lang, nasa chat naman. Pero I'm
Okay.
asking on behalf of our fellows.
How do you balance, basahin ko na lang how do you balance your personal goal or what you really want to do with what your community needs? And in time of pandemic, what are some of the creative ways our fellows could adopt to engage with their communities? Ooh, that's a $1 million question, number one. Number two, it's been, if you ask people siguro din, no, who are a bit older now or like more senior than you are, it's a difficult na way to get there. It's a complex question to answer, but I would say, so first bit, how do you balance your personal goal or what you really want to do? I think it will be so much easier if you do a project that is aligned with a skill, a passion that you have. If this is your course, do something related to that, because in this way you're able to marry two things. I'll give you a quick example lang of one of my friend, she's a nurse. She's the way I describe her is she's like Mother Teresa, Pok Kwang, and Kim Chiu rolled into one. You know, she's very charismatic, heart is there, Miss Humanitarian. She'd be that person. She's a nurse, public health is what she really does, but she was pulled into a direction where she had to do economic empowerment programs. And while that is very important, it was very difficult for her. The ending of the story is that she had to let go of that role, of that particular advocacy. Someone else could do it better, because it was having a toll on her already. Okay, so the quick answer to this question is that work on something that is close to your heart, number one. Number two, the one that your expertise will, if it leads you somewhere else in the future, then go ahead. You know, if you're a financial literacy person and you want to do a project in your community, don't do, let's say a mental health program. If this is not really what you want, no, do a financial literacy program if there is a need for it, because that aligns your personal goals and then what they need. Some of the creative ways of fellows to adopt to engage with their communities. communities here can be defined in so many ways. Not only communities na geography, no. We're not talking communities na necessarily are like the low income bracket. That's a you're basing kasi communities. I think the question is based in grouping communities according to social background or economic background, no. But you could also define communities kasi as, you know, this is a community, right? Young leaders in Caloocan. Another community could be your the high school community, right? Another community could be you and those who do mental awareness workshops, or those who do environmental workshops. There's so many communities that can be defined by location, social background, interests, no? Women in general is also another community. Filipinos is another community. So the reason why I say that is when you are asking how to engage your community, find first what that community is. And because it's a pandemic, we're very limited with how things are done. Always start, when you start to involve them or engage them, start with something that they are interested in and somewhere where you can communicate. If you can't communicate, I'm a communication professional. I'm a communication person by training. If you can't communicate, if there's no currency for exchange in that community, most probably that community will not prosper. All right. So stay active in your chat groups if online, because that's really how we can continue to just communicate there right now. It boils down to communication with the difficulties that we have right now. And so that's why I said mural was also really good, because that's another means of exchange, right? Even if we are in a pandemic. So I've spoken too long already. I'd be happy to answer more questions. No, send me a message on Facebook, Instagram. I'll be happy, or LinkedIn. I'll be happy to message over there. But I think I've taken so much time. Sorry, Colleen, Jap.
Okay, Ryan. Thank you. So guys, we'll just have a group photo and then we'll now turn into our workshop. Okay, guys. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck sa lahat.
Let me just share my screen again.
Thanks, Rai. Thanks. Actually, John Lloyd yung tawag kay Rai. NYC.
Kung sabihin
Thanks.
baka di nila kilala. Baka sabihin, ay, parang si John Lloyd. Saan dyan?
Salamat,
Kita-kits,
Rai.
Jap. Picture.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, for our second part of the session, we are going to have a workshop about communication for social change. But before that, let me just introduce you quickly our speaker. He is a communications and social media specialist at Impact Leadership Project. His name is Ronald Jen Celestial from Impact Leadership. So I'll be now giving the floor to you, Ronald. Pleasure to meet you. Okay, let me just unshare my screen.
Start ng video. Ayan, may video na. Narinig niyo ba ako?
Yes, loud and clear.
Ayan, very good. Haba-haba ng bio note ko, di nyo naman pala binasa. Sorry.
Oh my, sorry. Late na nakita.
Joke lang. Pwede na ako mag-share screen.
Sure.
So, ayan. Nakikita ba yung screen ko?
Loading pa. Ayan.
Ayan, nakikita. Diyos ko, kailan ba tayo matatapos sa mga online? Hirap na ako makipag-battle sa teknolohiya. So, ayun. Ayun, good afternoon everyone. So, ayan. Ang topic ko nga, basically, ang topic ko ay social media for change. So, syempre, gusto kong i-touch on yung topic na ano bang context natin ngayon. Kasi, malapit na mag-election, tapos may pandemya tayo, tapos yun ay very ripe conditions for much more misinformation and disinformation. So, kailangan mag-adapt tayo sa situation natin na meron tayo ngayon. So, ang presentation ko ngayon is entitled Eradicating the Infodemic. So, nakita ko sa page ng Caloocan Young Leaders Initiative. Na-mention nila yung infodemic. So, parang, ay, taray, aware sila sa term. So, ayun, it's fact-checking and combating fake news proliferation. So, basically, iisa lang naman yung topic ng social media for change. So mas gusto ko lang siya i-contextualize sa ano bang sitwasyon natin ngayon para mas mag-grasp natin, di ba? Kasi yun yung thought ko. Anyway, so hello, I'm Jem. So ayun, hindi po ako si Ronald. Tatay ko yun. I'm Jem. So I'm a BS Chemical Engineering graduate, third Communications Social Media Specialist. So specialist lang ako noong 2019. Ngayon, Communications Director na ako. Hindi ko rin nabago yung bio note ko. So you can find me on Twitter at Ronald Jem. So ayun. So ayun, right now, no, we are fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. So alam naman natin yun, di ba? Parang mga 5 years na ata tayo nasa lockdown. Okay, joke lang. 2 years na tayo nasa lockdown. So maisip nyo, anong connect ng pandemic sa social media? Iko-connect natin yan. So una sa lahat, no, the coronavirus disease or COVID-19 is the first pandemic in history in which technology and social media sobrang incorporated siya sa sitwasyon natin ngayon, no? Kasi right now, gamit ng social media on a massive scale para maging safe, informed, productive, and connected tayong lahat. So kami naman sa atin, di ba, parang for the past year, parang since we're quarantined, staying at home, talagang social media lang yung, kung wala tayong ganap sa buhay, ba, social media lang yung ginagawa natin. So if not, parang yung classes natin, yung work, incorporated din sa social media. So parang halos wala ng division ng ating online life and then ng ating real world life, kumbaga. So at the same time, the technology na ginagamit natin para maging connected and informed tayo, parang it has enabled, tapos it has amplified a certain type of pandemic or the infodemic that continues to undermine the global response and jeopardize measures to control the pandemic. And aside from that, mamaya pa mababanggit yun. So kumbaga, since lahat tayo tutok sa social media, meron tayong overload of information. Whether it is pandemic related, politicizing the pandemic, spreading fake news about the pandemic, and anything na maaring post na information online. So ano yung sinasabi natin na infodemic? So basically yung infodemic, it is an overabundance of information, both online and offline. So right now, kung makita natin, di ba, itong pandemic, parang hindi lang pandemic-related fake news, misinformation, or disinformation yung kumakalat. Minsan, may mga tao na hindi ko alam kung anong trip sa buhay, ginagamit din yung condition ng mga utak natin right now, yung situation natin right now, we have a lot of uncertainties, fears, to spread not just false information about the pandemic, but false information with almost everything that is happening around us. So kasama dito sa infodemic yung deliberate attempts to disseminate wrong information. So talagang sinadya mo, hindi ka lang nagkamali, hindi ka lang maling intindi. Like trip mo lang or bayad ka na mag-share ng false information. Kasi di ba right now, since quarantine tayo, more on ang source nating information is online. So minsan mahirap din sa atin pumunta sa certain offices, diba, to triangulate, o kaya sa shutdown pa yung ABS-CBN, so nabawasan tayo ng credible source of information. So yun yung mga nangyari sa atin for the past year. And itong deliberate attempts to disseminate wrong information, it undermines the public health response and at the same time advance alternative agenda of groups or individuals. Kasi makikita mo, diba, for the past year, hindi lang naman, sabi ko, hindi lang tungkol sa public health response yung nagiging topic ng mga misinformation and disinformation na meron tayo ngayon. Minsan ginagamit siya na mag-push ng certain agenda, like politicizing things. For example, allow me to use this example na sa lagitan ng pandemic, there was this photo of VP Lenny na nakipag-mass gathering daw siya, ganyan, kasi naka-mask. Pero that photo was taken nung sa Taal pa, bago pa magkaroon ng pandemic. Pero syempre, it was spread all over the internet. Tapos ang narrative na bit-bit nun is the Vice President herself is violating quarantine protocols. Tapos meron din na yung spaghetti niya na maputla, di ba? Parang pinamukha na kinurap daw niya or yung budget ng OVP, kaya daw maputla yung spaghetti. So, makikita natin na hindi lang related sa pandemic yung mga ginagamit na information, but pinapasukan din siya ng mga alternative agenda. Kasi ripe yung condition natin right now with all the uncertainty, the limited access to information na meron tayo ngayon. The problem is misinformation costs lives, di ba? Na minsan, akala natin, ang natatamaan natin sa misinformation or ang natatamaan natin sa misinformation or na-apekto niya greatly ay yung mga tinatarget natin na public officials or individuals. But sometimes kasi when we spread misinformation, may mga ordinary Filipinos na since unfortunately yung mga propaganda pages lang yung source nila of information, kumbaga, naniniwala sila sa misinformation na yun. And sometimes they apply it and it costs their lives. For example, yung mga myth tungkol sa proper way of pandemic response, sa pagtutuo, ganyan. Tapos at the same time, nitong nakaraan sa NCR, yung sinasabi na may pakalat ng fake news na kapag hindi ka daw bakunado, hindi ka makatanggap ng ayuda, hindi ka pwede magtrabaho. So it cost commotion. And some provinces, yung mga misinformation na meron na tungkol sa ayuda, na meron na daw ayuda, ganyan, pero wala pa pala. Tapos may mga vulnerable sectors, mga senior citizens, nakikipila, hoping na magkakaroon sila ng ayuda, but since they're vulnerable, di ba sa kanila nahihimatay along the way, di ba? So akala natin, akala ng iba, naapektuhan ng mga misinformation. Kasi yung gusto mong i-target na political entity, public figures, or kung sino man. Pero unfortunately, kadalasan, ang naapektuhan talaga ito na pinakamasama or badly, may mga ordinary citizens natin, di ba, na tanging source of information na ay yung mga Facebook pages na meron sila, na pina-follow nila. So ayun, yung disinformation, it's a very it polarizes public debate on certain topics like sa COVID-19 pandemic. And aside from that, yung mentioned ko examples kanina, it also amplifies hate speech, di ba? Kasi siguro, since i-stretch natin, hindi lang na itong pandemic, since 2016, sobrang nagkaroon ng para yung pagtatag ng mga tao na UDDS ka, UDilawan ka, di ba? Kahit minsan naman, ikaw sa sarili mo, hindi ka naman talaga, you don't identify sa DDS, you don't identify as a Dilawan, pero you're just critical enough to have a stand on certain issues that unfortunately, parang na-polarize yung mga tao na kapag pro-human rights ka, Dilawan ka na, di ba? Tapos kapag gusto mo ng tokhang, DDS ka na. To some extent, oo. Kasi di ba, yung mga definition, kasi supposedly naman, yung pag-align mo sa pagiging DDS or sa pagiging Dilawan, it should be based on ideologies. Pero more often than not, kasi issue-based lang talaga yung magsa-stand mo on certain things. Na not necessarily Dilawan ka, not necessarily na DDS ka. Aside from that, yung klase ng disinformation na meron tayo online, it heightened the risk of conflict, violence, and human rights violations. Kasi, pas naisipin mo, naniniwala na naman ako sa ganito. Paano ako nakapag-contribute sa violence and human rights violations? Kasi syempre, when you may not necessarily be a state actor, but when you enable this kind of culture na, okay lang naman na may mga, for example, biktima ka ng fake news, tapos hindi ka naniniwala sa concept ng human rights kasi kung kaninong blog ang binasa mo or pinanood mo, ganyan. Na parang, eventually, at kapag mas madaming tao naniniwala, nakakapag-enable tayo unknowingly ng certain culture kung saan mababa na yung we have less regard for human rights and democracy and freedom of speech. Kung mapapansin niyo, like right now, parang nanonormalize na yung mga certain issues or mga certain negative things or mga character na parang noon dati parang red flag for us. For example, 'di ba? Parang paano ba na-enable ng social media, ng culture sa social media, yung mga paniniwala natin sa nation. For example, before kapag ang COA nag-sound ng alarm sa isang questionable transaction, galit na yung mga Pilipino, 'di ba? Kasi it's corruption. Pero right now, kahit ang dami ng flag na something, tapos ginagatungan siya ng false information, yung iba na okay na tinatanggap na lang nila na hindi, matagal naman kasi talaga may corruption. Pero looking back years ago, these kinds of issues, dapat nagwawala na yung mga tao. Pero ngayon, hindi, tinanggap nila na hindi, okay lang naman corruption. O kaya, Dilawan kasi ang COA, ganyan. Kaya hindi natin napansin na yung mga maliliit na bagay na nag-start noong 2016, almost 6 years later, magkakaroon ng election, it has drastically changed our perception of our Filipino values. Diba? And affecting how we see democracy, how we see human rights, and at the same time, social equation. Like ngayon parang, diba, there are stories na mga pamilya, magkakaibigan, nagsisira because of disinformation, sobrang passionate and believing into something. Diba? So yun. Kung hindi nyo pansin, self-reflect kayo, makikita niyo, oo nga, ganun na yung nangyari sa atin 6 years into this kind of climate. Yun. Sabi ng UNESCO Director for Policies, ganyan. Parang sa panahon, bakit ba siya na-heighten ngayon? Kasi ngayon yung situation natin ngayon, mataas yung fear natin and maraming uncertainties, di ba? Kasi we're quarantined. It's taking a toll on not just on our physical, but also in our mental health. And that kind of situation is very fertile para sa mga architects ng fake news ay magpakalat ng mas marami pang fake news, disinformation, especially on social media. Kasi sa social media, mag-post ka lang ng mga isa or dalawa na seemingly convincing na isang bagay. Tapos you have a huge following, o kaya youth organization ka, o kaya public, o kaya kilala ka sa school nyo or sa community nyo, tapos may certain level of credibility ka, kahit anong i-post mo, it can be interpreted by people as truth. So, ayun. And at the same time, ang problema kasi, kapag hinayaan kasi natin na mag-spread, mag-share, mag-retweet yung mga false information, especially yung sinasabi ng mga galing sa mga influential people, ang nangyayari doon, it is taken as fact na, di ba? Ano bang example nito? Example, yung sa ABS-CBN shutdown, di ba? Na sinasabi ng mga public figures, ng mga congressman na ABS-CBN may utang, kaya dapat sila i-shut down, hindi sila nagbabayad ng tamang taxes. Ulit-ulit siyang sinasabi, tapos hanggang sa tinitake siya ng ibang tao na nakikita yun, tapos hindi siya agad nag-fact check, or kaya wala nag-fact check sa immediate circles nila about that. Some people take it as truth, na kahit mismong BIR na nagsabi na mali yun, hindi sila niniwala. Kasi the situation that we're right now, we're full of uncertainties, nag-feed sila ng false information repeatedly, people take it as truth kahit mali na siya. Diba? And with that being said, we have to eradicate the infodemic, diba? Especially mga kabataan tayo. So, how? We have to equip authorities and then improve cooperation among them. Paano bang ibig sabihin ito? For example, tayo mga youth politicians that gain political capital online should be held accountable for their words. Ano bang ibig sabihin ko nito? Minsan, ito nakaraang pandemic, may mga public figures tayo or government officials na paulit-ulit nagsisinungaling sa harap natin on live national television sa mga public briefings nila, di ba? So, ang nangyayari, since they are of power or influence, yung mga lies nila, it is taken by people na katotohanan. And then if we let that person get away with it, yung kasinungalingan, it will be the absolute truth sa mga tao. So ano ba dapat natin gawin? We have to hold him accountable by fact-checking him, di ba? Okay, kung masupalpalin niyo siya. An example, sorry, medyo nagbibigay ako ng specific na tao. I'm trying to be as neutral as possible. Pero, magbibigay ako ng concrete example. For example, si Harry Roque, di ba? Parang Harry Roque has been consistently lying in his press briefings, di ba? Sinabi niya na, kahit mababa ang suporta ng gobyerno sa mga athletes natin, nakapagbigay pa rin sila ng gold medal, silver medal. Tapos a few days later, sinabi niya, hindi po, napakataas ng financial support ng binigay ng ating gobyerno sa ating mga atleta, kaya po sila nagkaroon ng gold and then silver. Tapos, but if we're going to look back, our medalists themselves have appealed, diba, through their personal accounts na bigyan sila ng additional financial support. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ko nun? So, ibabalik natin, we should hold accountable those kinds of words. How? By, for example, if yung organization nyo, or if you're a youth leader, you have to call that out. You have to you have to fact check those kinds of words. Kasi, if hayaan natin na lumabas lang siya, tapos kumalat siya na yung mga kasinungalingan niya, people will take it as it is. Especially if Harry Roque is going to run for a national position, di ba? Kapag hindi natin siya na fact check, he could carry those lies sa kanyang campaign and claim credit of things na hindi naman talaga niya ginawa. And worse, di ba? He might win. Di ba? So, would you want a liar in the Senate? I don't think so. Yes, sorry, strong. Tinawag ko siyang liar. Yun, isa yun sa mga kailangan natin ginawa. We should hold accountable politicians that gain political capital on lying. So, paano ko sinabi na political capital? Yun yung paglalay. Of course, di ba? If you do not have the guts to lie or to bend certain words, you won't be given the position of a spokesperson. Anyway, next is we need to ensure transparency and accountability. For example, and then citizens know how information is reaching and kailangan dapat makarating sa yung mga information sa mga citizens. Ano bang ibig sabihin natin ito? Kasi minsan, di ba, kapag hindi transparent and accountable ang isang government office, kaya kapag blinded tayo sa mga transactions or sa kung anong ginagawa ng mga government offices, the conditions are very ripe para magkalat ng chismis tungkol sa kanila, di ba? For example, yung maghahanap ko ng hypothetical example. For example, isang government official A, di ba? Tapos, si government official A, alam mo, buong buhay niya, government official lang ang source of income niya. Tapos, miraculously, nakabili siya ng isang magandang bahay somewhere in the province. So, logically, di ba, kung government official ka lang, modest lang naman ang salary nun supposedly. Tapos meron kang high-end na bahay in the province, mapapaisip ka, paano? Saan ang galing yun? Diba? So, pwede kung tayo, loko-loko tayo, pwede tayong magpakalat ng kasinungalingan na boom, corrupt siya, kaya siya nakabili ng ganong bahay. But if that government official is transparent enough, di ba, to show his salin, kaya niyang patunayan na hindi yun galing sa corruption at ma-explain kung saan galing yung ganong pera niya, di ba? At the same, dito din papasok yung mga COA reports lately natin ngayon na ang daming mga kine-question sa transactions ng mga government agencies galing sa COA. Tapos, di ba, parang dun papasok yung kahalaga ng transparency and accountability. Kasi it's the people's money. We have to know na kung ano bang ginagawa sa kabilang bayan. Tapos you have to share those kinds of information to the people. Tapos the more na these agencies are overreacting with what is happening, the more na mas i-question siya ng mga tao, di ba? Kung ano ba talaga yung tamang information. But other agencies were, quick to easily explain and respond, di ba? Kasi transparent sila enough. Tapos hindi na siya umabot sa mga Senate or House hearings. For example, ano ba? Yung pag-ibig, di ba? Hindi yung love ha, yung pag-ibig sa housing. Their question kung bakit nagbigay sila ng car plan. Tapos nag-explain naman sila na matagal na tong car plan na to. Tapos in fact, meron silang kasunduan with the previous heads of COA na with how the car plan should go, di ba? Pero hindi niyo siya masyadong nabalitaan. Kasi hindi siya blow up kasi yung pag-ibig, naging transparent sila enough to respond and then, di ba, give the proper information. Kaya hindi siya naging na-sensationalize. Unlike yung nangyari sa DOH na tinatanong lang naman, ano nangyari sa 67 bill? Di ba, may nagmaktol, may nawarak, may hindi nakatulog, may umiyak. Pero kung sinagot niya rin right then and there, di ba, madaling matapos yung issue. And ang problem din kasi, since yung kakulangan nila sa transparency, maaari siyang gatungan mga propagandists from different sides of the political spectrum na corrupt ang DOH, binulsa ng DOH ang pera, o kaya pwede din naman sabihin na dilawan kasi ang COA kaya finag ang DOH. Diba? Pero kung right then and there, naging transparent agad yung mga government agencies natin, hindi sana magiging ripe yung issue na yon para pagmula ng maraming disinformation, misinformation, at kung ano-ano pang chismis. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Next is we need to engage civil society. Ano bang ibig sabihin nito? Parang syempre kailangan yung mga sectors, di ba, na affected. tayo, kay mga youth leaders, ganyan, kailangan mas maging active kayo sa pag-mobilize ng pagbibigay ng malinaw, mabilis at reliable na information, di ba? For example, kami sa Impact, kapag merong isang issue, or if not, minsan kami nag-start pala ng issue, kapag may isang issue na very questionable yung katotohanan, o kaya kapag may isang statement or pronouncement na very questionable, talagang we're always quick to fact check it and share it to our audience, and hopefully mag-spread siya para bago pa kumalat yung isang false information, na fact check na namin siya agad, di ba? So ayun. Tapos syempre, maganda na maging practice siya ng maraming youth organizations and youth leaders, especially if yung mga issues o kaya mga statements or pronouncements involved ay lapat doon sa advocacy nyo, di ba? For example, sa amin, kasi we are for, good governance, democracy, ganyan. So mas more on political and government issues kami. Pero for example, kapag kung organization ninyo ay for example, advocate ng public health, di ba? Maganda na kapag may mga false information kayo na nakikita, call out nyo agad. For example, yung mga issue na ivermectin, about vaccination, di ba? Kasi kahit sabihin nyo na sobrang ridiculous yung mga kasinungalingan na babasa nyo all night, meron na naniniwala sa mga ridiculous na mga information na yun. So maganda na you have to establish your organizations or magkaroon kayo ng reputation na source kayo of quick, clear, and reliable information. Diba? Especially kung public concern na yung mga issues na pinag-uusapan or na nagiging natitwist natin. Next is we need to invest in a society that's media savvy and critical, and meron kayo media and digital skills. Kaya nga kayo ng mga ganitong talks, di ba? Para mabigyan kayo ng, kasi ako, I don't consider myself an expert. Like, feeling it's just my experience for a year, for almost 3 years na pala, sa communications director. Kung kaya, medyo I know the ins and outs of, communicating through social media on certain advocacies and issues, di ba? And maganda na ma-equip din kayo. And by equipping, naniniwala kasi ako na hindi siya yung tinuto na step 1, step 2, more on mag-share ako ng mga how I've done it, some things that I've learned along the way. Tapos, kumuha kayo ng inspiration doon and i-apply niyo siya. Hindi naman siya instant na, okay, nabukas magaling na kayo, viral na kayo lagi. It's a long, painstaking journey. Pero once nasanay na kayo, alam niyo, like, isang word pa lang na makita niyo, alam niyo kung paano pagawin viral yun. So, ayun. So, yung sinasabi ko na we need to invest in a society that is media savvy. May ginagamit akong mnemonic or acronym for that. It's CLOUD. Kasi di ba, naniniwala ako na madami kasing statements or content na ginagawa ng mga youth organizations na sobrang gaganda ng laman, sobrang gaganda ng intention, pero hindi siya kumakalat sa mas malawak na audience kasi wala silang cloud, di ba? So, ano ba yung cloud? First, letters is create your brand. Yung sinasabi ko kanina na kailangan ma-establish yung, ano ba yung brand? Yung brand, ito yung visual or overall identity niyo as an organization or as an individual. For example, kanya sinabi ko, di ba? Kung advocate kayo ng health or ng public health, maganda na, for example, mag-post kayo ng content, fact-checking, calling out misinformation and disinformation about, the pandemic situation natin right now. For example, on ivermectin, vaccination, hindi zombie or whatsoever. Next is letter L. You have to learn, develop, and grow. Ito yung sinasabi ko na wala namang step 1, step 2, step 3. It's more on parang the more that you create content and then the more you read your audience feedback or engagements, the more na mas naiintindihan mo kung paanong direction ang tatahakin nyo. For example, kami sa Impact, nagsimula kami, pa-neutral, mga pebe lang, mga motherhood statements na kung paristo ka, register to vote, ganyan. Pero eventually, nakita namin nang when we tried posting exposés or yung mga medyo matatapang na political news, doon kami mas nag-grow as a page and as an organization. Kasi nakita namin na ako personally, kasi ako yung nag-manage ng page, nakita ko na hindi lang naman talaga na, di ba sinasabi na botante, tanga mga Pilipino, ganyan, uto-uto. Naniniwala ko na hindi totoo yun. Matatalino yung mga Pilipino, skeptical sila sa nangyayari. It's just that sobrang daming pages na nag-share ng mga half-truth, kaya ng mga propaganda, kaya mga press release galing mismo sa mga politicians. Tapos since yun lang yung nakoconsume nilang content, yun yung mas napapaniwalaan nila. Pero if mas madami tayong mga youth organizations or individuals na matapang enough na mag-fact check, na mag-call out, di ba? Lalo na yung kung malaki ang reach natin. One by one, or kahit pa paano, mayroong ilan tayong mako-convert ng mga tao. Or if not, mas magikimulat sila. Diba? Kasi ano nangyari, di ba? Sabi ko, may infodemic, may information all overload. And fortunately, yung mga source of information natin, or ng ilan, mga controlled by or tied sa corporate interests, sa mga government interests, sa certain interests ng politicians, kasi nasa payroll sila, ganyan. So yun. Next is you have to be organic and authentic. Ano bang ibig sabihin ko nito? Kapag organic and authentic ka kasi, di ba, usually kasi nasanay tayo kapag yung mga youth organizations, pag nag-release sila ng mga statements or ng mga content, parang talagang very professional in such a way na hindi masyadong conversational yung tone. Kaya ano nangyayari, nakakapagod siya basahin. Kasi parang ulit-ulit lang, para tayo ng sinasabi. Although maganda yung gusto nating sabihin, pero the way that we're saying it is tiring na pareho na yung masyado ba tayong too academic, di ba? Kaya minsan, yung gusto natin i-convey na message, umiikot lang sa echo chambers natin, like sa mga members ng organizations, schoolmates natin, sa mga friends, ganyan. And di ba, kaya nga tayo ginagamit natin social media sa ating mga advocacies or sa ating mga gustong gawin is that to penetrate certain demographics para ma-convey sa kanila yung message. So paano ba siya lahat maging organic and authentic? Kung papansin niyo, there are social media cards na ginagawa ng, for example, ng mga, example, BDS. Diba? Parang sobrang direct to the point, yung mga ginagamit nilang wordings like, Drilon, nasupalpal, ay, mali. For example, Roque, sinupalpal si Drilon, ganyan. So, yung mga ganung klaseng wordings na direct to the point, parang nakipag-usap ka lang, yun yung mga mas kinakagat nila. Yung medyo tabloidy, pero hindi naman yung sobrang explicit as tabloids. Yung mga talagang, kung gagawa ka ng material, tatanungin mo sarili mo, kung sa akin ba pinesento, makikinig ako. Yung mga ganung klaseng bagay, tanong niya sa sarili niya. Kaya, example ba ng organic and authentic? Yan, yung mga paggagamit ng words, for example, Kuya Bongo, mga gano'n, mga Tatay Digong, di ba? Kasi usually, di ba, nasanay tayo sa mga kagalang-galang, blah, blah, blah. And on a normal basis naman, hindi mo naman sasabihin isang tao, di ba? So, mas okay na yun. Kaya, objectively speaking, yung Duterte admin, or si Duterte, isa siya sa mga objectively speaking, maayos yung communication nila in such a way na effective siya kasi nag-last siya sa utak ng tao. Pero the kind of words, medyo explicit. Yun. Pero kahit explicit yung sinasabi niya, since authentic siya, mas nag-gauge niya yung public. Kasi parang, totoong tao siya, nakaka-relate ako sa kanya. Unlike some other politicians na kahit sobrang linis ng mga sinasabi nila, sobrang ganda ng sinasabi nila, pero minsan, kapag ordinary tao, mapapaisip ka, parang hindi naman totoo, parang plastic, di ba? So, yun yung kailangan natin i-practice. Yung kapag gagawa ka ng content online, dapat organic and authentic yung way mo na pakipag-communicate mo sa kanila. Diba? Kaya kami minsan sa Impact, hindi kami masyadong super English, o kaya hindi kami sobrang super Tagalog, o kaya sobrang formal. Kasi gusto namin nakikipag-chismisan lang kami sa audience namin. Kasi para mas mag-gauge namin sila. Diba? Especially kung sobrang serious ng topic. Tapos, gagawin mo pang sobrang serious and sobrang bigat. Parang feeling ko pagkatapos silang basahin yun, or baka hindi nila tapusin basahin yun. Yun. Next is you have to understand your audience. What do you mean by you have to understand your audience? Intindihin, parang kumbaga, alamin mo kung anong klaseng mga tao ba yung nagpa-follow sa social media accounts niyo. Kung mga professionals ba sila, kung mga estudyante ba sila. Kasi doon mo malalaman kung gaano ba ka-quirky, kung anong klaseng type of content ang ipopost nyo. Kasi for example, kung puro mga tatanda pala ang audience nyo, so parang hindi magandang idea na puro youth-related topics ang ilagay nyo. Tapos kung puro youth naman majority ng audiences nyo, parang hindi magandang idea na tungkol sa employment o kaya technical reading ng mga economy natin ang ilagay ninyo, di ba? Gets niyo? Next is timeliness and relevance is key. Ano bang ibig sabihin ko dito? Siyempre, di ba, kapag gagawa ka din ng content or makipag-communicate sa social media, pangit naman na vaccination ang nangyayari ngayon sa ating bansa. Tapos, focus ka pa rin sa what is mass testing. Or tama naman yun. Pero, mas maganda na up-to-date yung mga topics na isi-share nyo or pag-uusapan nyo sa pages nyo or sa mga accounts nyo. Yun. Kasi yung mga tao talaga, yung mga Pilipino, talagang chismoso yun, di ba? So, parang mas gusto nila yung mga up-to-date and relevant at mga nagbabagang balita or issues or chismis or information ang i-feed nyo sa kanila. Ayun. Diba? So, yun yung sinasabi ko na kailangan, timeless and relevant is key. So, recap lang sa cloud. Ito yung parang inaano ko, parang ito yung naging mantra ko sa paggawa ng content. And so, you have to create your brand. So, lagi akong, pagkagawa ko lagi na ng sarili ko, on-brand ba ito sa amin? Parang ito ba yung mga issues or topics na talk about namin? Then you have to learn, develop, and grow. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan palagi mong balik-balikan. Then, yung mga audience nyo, tignan yung mga comments nila. Kasi minsan, makakakuha ka ng mga gandang suggestions from your audience. Tapos, time yung i-apply yun. Tapos, boom, mag-grow ulit kayo. Tapos, you have to be organic and authentic. Like, lagi mo tayo yung sarili mo. Ganito ba dapat ako makipag-usap sa aking audience? Para, kung ako ba kausapin ng ganito, makikinig ba ako? Next is you have to understand your audience. Ayan, parang, titignan nyo sa insights nyo kung puro na ba mga ano bang age group, anong demographics nyo. And lastly is timeless and relevance is key. So ito sa timeless and relevance is key. Mahirap ito ituro, pero maganda to na maging na kasanayan nyo na you have to keep track of certain topics or issues na gusto nyo i-communicate talaga sa audience nyo. Minsan kasi, before, nung nagsimula pa lang kami, nag-check lang ako ng Inquirer, Rappler, ganyan. Pero minsan kasi, pag sobrang pressing or breaking ng issue, minsan kasi diba, they have to rely on certain editorial standards. Minsan hours later or kinabukasan nila ibabalita. So akong ginagawa ko, aside from that, I keep track of the pages talaga ng mga government agencies, ng mga public figures na feature namin madalas, diba? Para kami na mauna na mag-post nun and mag-start nun ng conversation on certain topics. Yun. Kasi ano ba? Kasi ako, for example, diba, kung mail ka sa Twitter, usually, diba, yung sa Twitter, uso mga Twitter bardagulo, mga chismisan, ganyan. So ako mahilig din ako sa mga ganun. So naisip ko, what if yung energy ko na lang, para makichismis sa buhay ng ibang tao, i-direct ko na lang, para makichismis sa buhay ng mga mas mahalagang nilalang or entity sa ating bansa. Para man lang, may bibigyan akong tea, what's the thesis? Mas may sense, di ba? Hindi mo magpo-post ka ng tito kasi isang private entity, wala nang pakialamang Pilipinas sa kanya. Pero kung mag-post ka ng tea, di ba? Tungkol sa government agencies, doon, di ba? Mas magiging makabuluhan yung data mo and yung resources mo. Next is ano itong stop? Ba't nagkamay si Cinderella?
Hello, we're actually running out of time.
Last slide na po.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Ayun. So lastly, gabi naman, na-call out ako sa running out of time. Akala ko mabilis ako. Anyway, lastly, we need to support free and independent media, resilient and critical citizens. Ano ibig sabihin nito? Na parang syempre, diba, as a youth organization, as youth leaders, you have to support your fellow advocates, diba? Na gumagawa ng mga bagay na scene nyo ng ginagawa. For example, kapag nakita ka advocate ng ganito, ganyan, di-share nyo din ginagawa nilang content. O kaya kapag may may nag-gang up sa kanyang trolls for speaking the truth, then you have to, kung kaya mo, you have to defend them. Kasi kung, diba, if we don't speak up for them or speak with them, what if na-silence sila? Tapos, na-silence ulit tayo, lahat tayo, hanggang sa wala na natira para mag-speak up sa ating lipunan. So, kailangan tulong-tulong din tayo nito kasi, di ba, maganda na may magsasalita ang isa. Pero mas maganda kung mas madami tayong magsasalita at magtutulungan tayo para makapagsalita ang bawat isa. Ay, ang ganong quotable quote nun. Anyway, yun, thank you so much. So, sana may natutunan po kayo sa akin. Yun. But Cinderella.
Ayun. Thank you.
Dapat pa nag-Disney character din ako, Stitch.
Yeah. Our theme for today's session. Thank you, Ronald Gem Celestial, for that informative discussion for today.
Thank you.
So let me just share my screen. Okay. I will now present our certificate of gratitude to Ronald Gem Celestial for serving as a mentor for the young leaders of Caloocan as a speaker during the SILE Sustainable Development Goals, Leadership Enhancement, and Advocacy Programs, or SDG-LEAP Huddle 4, held on the 21st day of August 2021. So signed by Marlon Peralta and John Paul Uminga and me. Thank you so much, Ronald, for this day, giving your time to us.
Natawa ko sa picture ko. Saan yun nakuha yan?
Actually, I got that from LinkedIn.
Sa?
Sa LinkedIn.
My God, di ko naman ginagamit yun.
Okay. For the third half, okay, let's just have our group photo for a while.
Naloka ako. Picture ko ng kabataan ko ginamit.
Okay lang yan.
Okay lang
Guys,
din. Natawa lang ako sa
photo.
itsura ko. Parang, at some point, though,
It does look good.
sinalat ako sa nutrition.
1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, for our breakout session, so we are going to have our project template discussion together with our mentors. Kuya Jack.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Jem, for sharing your talk and
Thank you.
for your
Na-times up
insight.
pala ako dito. may nakaiba. Times up na po.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Before we continue, can we see any reactions, heart reacts, para alam namin na you're not taking an afternoon nap, you're still awake and listening. Okay, Twinkle, Biel, Claudine, of course, Clara, of course, the JM nag-message din. Okay, thank you guys for staying. So medyo mahaba-haba ng ating araw, but we're not yet done. So at this point in time, we will be deep diving na dun sa different project ideas that you have. And also, siguro walkthrough of the project template. So this was sent as well during the in the email that was sent by Mika. So we hope you were able to open that. But just to give you more details about it, and we also would like to encourage you guys to ask questions if you have. But basically, so we will be using Google Slides for your project idea, for your project template. Basically, will be in Google Slides. Available na siya in our cloud. So I'm not sure if you have been opening our shared folder, pero siguro this is a good time to also show you how to access that. So this is our Google Drive. So basically, this is ULI Google Drive. Pero you have been given access to this folder. So SDG Leapers Access. So nandyan yung mga different files and documents that we need that are actually for SDG Leap program. So even the photos, every session. So kung nakikita nyo may mga napopost or anything, Nandyan yung mga complete files. So if you want to share them, ganyan, feel free to copy paste. I mean to download all of them. We also have here, of course, the background, the different decks from different speakers. We also upload here. And see while I buddies. Yan, may mga ganyang file. Ay, ito pala. And your passion project. So for passion project, you have been may mga ginawang different folders for you guys to access. So for now, wala pa siyang laman. Pero when you start researching or doing your template, dito natin siya ilalagay. So right now we have a Google slide. So one file pa lang siya, one file. Copy paste na lang natin para each one of you would have a copy and you can work on the template directly individually. So bawat isa sa inyo may copy na nito. So ito yung template natin. So for now, I'll walk you through the different sections. I think, sige, within 5 minutes siguro. So we have the cover page. So basically, think about your project name. It can be Tagalog, it can be Filipino or English, it can be combination, it can be another language. So depende sa inyo how you best describe the project. And then relevant SDGs as mentioned, is it SDG 1, 5, 6, or 7, 8, 9? Again, it would depend on the type of project that you are proposing. You have the name, the mobile number, email address, profile, name of mentors. Yeah. Next one, first question actually is the problem statement, first section. Okay, so basically these are some guides for the problem statement. So what is the problem or issue that you're trying to address? So siguro some samples lang no from your batch. Mark is doing something around mental health. Si Jeff would be on community garden or so food security, yung problems, the problem or issue that he's trying to address. Who else? Si Vince, I think the last time I heard you're doing financial literacy. So yan. Ano yung problem statement? Ano yung problem issue that you're trying to address? So main guide would be in one sentence, one statement. How would you succinctly or straight to the point mention what you're trying to address? Ganyan. Additional backgrounder must be provided. So I think that bring up to during the body catch-up group. If you can find any statistics, data, news articles, also anecdotes, yung mga talking to the people na sinasabi ni Ryan and na-discuss natin last time. Kung meron kayong mga ganun data, qualitative, quantitative data, or combination of those data, feel free to include them also doon sa slide para alam natin yung background research that you did. And then, in this section, we'd like to know more about the problem also. So yun, hindi siya yung tipo, okay, I want to do community garden. Yung sinasabi ni Rai kanina, we have to address why do we want to do things, why do we want to do the project that we plan to propose? So what's your why? So basically, dito siya masasagot. Solution is our what. So kung yung problem statement ay why, so the solution would be I think the what or the how, both of them. So what is your proposed solution? So proposed solution should be SMART. So I think this discussion is also relevant for the mentors and bodies in the room. We have here Herman, also of course the LEAP parents, Leo. So we don't expect you to come up with a massive project. That's not the expectation. If it's something that you want to do, by all means you do that. Pero we're already happy if you can already, have a small project or initiative, because the idea talaga of the project pitch or the passion project would be to teach or guide you on how to think about, proposing a project to implementing a project. So yung scale, it can come later. Pero yung step-by-step procedures or what's the process involved, yun yung gusto nating ma-emphasize doing this. But again, if you're already very advanced and if you feel like you're up for the challenge and you've been doing projects naman as student leaders in your respective schools and communities, by all means, you can propose other projects, like big projects, bigger than what we expect you to do. So for those who will be launching complex or big projects, siguro, as Siley, we're interested to know the first 2 to 3 months or the first phase of the project. How would it look like? Ano yung mga preps involved? And generally speaking, there must be some form of output or and outcome for the SDG-LEAP part of the project. Okay, may mga samples na nakalagay dito. These are just sample. It's not exhaustive. Pero some of you may want to do a webinar, especially with COVID. No, we're not really, we're not encouraging you guys to go to the communities and, you know, expose yourselves. Kasi mataas pa rin talaga yung risk. So webinar is one of the go-to. If you feel like it's something that you want to do, yeah, that's very welcome. Mentorship sessions or programs, projects addressing specific issues in your immediate communities, projects that can be supported by SILE or your student or church organization, and of course, projects that align with your passion and advocacy. Hindi ko na mention, it should be SMART, meaning specific, measurable, attainable, realistic. I'd like to emphasize this because I've been hearing different proposals na it's not really not realistic, but given the time frame that we have for the project implementation, it can take years to finish or to do that. Pero again, think around also chunking or, you know, thinking about the different milestones or phases. If it's something na feeling nyo naman ay kaya and dapat gawin, by all means do that. So we're just here to guide your thought process also. Pero right off the bat, sometimes kasi we can already tell, okay, that would take a lot of resources. That can take a lot of time. That would be just one of the feedback that you can receive. Pero at the end of the day, it's your project. You're the project manager. You're the project leader. You're the main stakeholder. Exercise your judgment. Kung feeling nyo, yun talaga yung passion ninyo and kaya nyo siyang gawin. I also included here the 10 divisions of SILE for your reference. Na-mention na to during the, I think, the launch, Huddle 1. Pero it would be best, it's not a requirement, pero it would be best kung meron, kaya nyo siyang ipasok sa isa sa mga divisions para lang align din siya sa SILE. Pero again, it's not a requirement. So we have arts and culture, climate action, ARSHER, or reproductive sexual health and rights, disaster risk reduction, media literacy, mental health, gender equality, YPG, peace, justice and human rights, QualEd. So far, parang pasok lahat yung mga ideas. Merong youth economic empowerment, which is wala tayo sa division. Pero I think nag-overlap siya with climate action. So I'm not sure if Clara is still pursuing the idea that you presented last huddle. Pero yeah, maybe later you can talk to your buddy and mentor to further develop the idea. Of course, I also added here the SDGs. So yan talaga yung nasa heart ng program. So tignan nyo lang to, tignan nyo kung saan nagpo-fall under, ano yung mga SDGs na nako-cover nung project proposal. Okay, that's for the solution. Beneficiaries. Again, I hate this word. So partner communities siguro or audience. Partners talaga yung better term, I think. It has to be specific. So includes estimated quantity. Ilan ba yung atin ng webinar? 5 ba sila or 10 or from how many communities or 100, 200, from what barangay, from what city, ano yung age range nila, high school ba sila or college or mix, gender, meron ba kayong tina-target na specific gender? So here, we want you to be very specific in terms of identifying your partner communities or intended audience. So we have an example here. The project targets 100 senior high school students from Bagumbong Elementary School as well as their parents or guardians. Kung gusto nyo pa na mas specific, depende sa project ninyo. Those with no or limited access to internet, ganyan. Or those who are currently unable to enroll. So as you can see here, very specific yung tina-target natin. Although pwede nyo rin sabihin na, Kuya, actually yung project, it's not really for a specific population. That's also fine. Pero actually, when you do a comms plan or when you do a project, you should be very clear about who you're targeting. Also, when you talk about marketing, very specific dapat yung, well, technical term would be the segmentation. But sino talaga yung ini-expect nyo that would benefit for maximum impact? Kasi when we're targeting a lot of people, it would require you to have different interventions, different programming, different ways of, different approaches also. So the more specific, the better, at least for now, with our small projects that we want to implement. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to pop them in the chat box anytime. I can get back to them later. Okay, so we're done with problem statement, solution, beneficiary. The next one would be resources. Option number 4 to dapat. So what do you need to make this project happen? So it can be people, it can be organizations, money, if you need money. What are the physical materials and other resources that you need? So very, very straightforward naman, no? Pero yan, monetary, material. So if you need cartolina or whatever, kailangan nyo ba ng supplies ng anything? Community pantry ba yan? So pag community pantry, kailangan nyo dyan maglagay ng mga groceries or table or chairs. Ano pa ba? Siyempre yung mga signage ninyo and everything. For partners, again, yung sabi ni Ryan kanina, you have to look into sino ba yung nasa community. Your community is your number 1 partner. So kailangan kasama sila dyan. And siguro emphasize din yung idea ng participatory project management, which is involving your target audience from education to planning to monitoring evaluation. So maganda yung point ni Ryan kanina. Yan, so for partners, pwede ba si SK maging involved? SKs have funds, so baka pwede silang mahinga ng pera. PYM, I'm not sure kung may funds ang PYM, Aloy, Mika, Mark. Baka pwede rin, if not monetary, I don't know, maybe promotion or audience, participants. Of course, CYLI is here for number 1 would be promotion. Pero also, I think, yeah, mentorship would be there. If you need sponsors, maybe you can draft a letter tapos we can help send out. Yung mga ganong support, we can help out in those regards. School. So, iba to, student government. A lot of you are student government president, pero I think last school year na yun, no? Kasi new school year na ngayon. Pero if your teachers or section or your class or ano pa ba, student orgs can help, yan, check out then if they can be involved. Specific people, ayan, Homeowners Association President, SK official, friend, or anybody na tingin nyo makakatulong sa project ninyo. And then, of course, other resources. More than 5 minutes na ako. Project timeline. So basically, dito na natin himay-himayin yung mga, ano ba yung mga steps talaga, mga tasks that we have to deliver para maging reality or maging, magawa natin yung project. So different tasks. So ang tawag dito sa project management would be work breakdown structure. So pwede siyang himay-himayin. Dapat pala naturo din sa inyo work breakdown structure. But basically, it's really thinking about the different tasks, mga details ng mga different deliverables. For example, okay, we want to be able to invite a speaker. That's one of the tasks, one of the deliverables. Pero in order for you guys to invite a speaker, marami siyang steps na involved. So ano yung mga example na steps? Okay, kailangan mag-shortlist muna tayo or kailangan mag-research muna tayo online kung sino yung mga potential speakers. Pag naka-research na online, let's shortlist. Pag na-shortlist na, okay, let's draft a letter. Pag nag-draft na ng letter, we have to send them. Pag nag-email, how do we send? Email, Facebook, Twitter? Tayo ba yung magsisend or partner ba siya ni Siley? Maybe Siley can help send. And then, okay, na-send na siya. Do we do a follow-up? So, kailan dapat mag-follow up? After 3 days, after 4 days? Hindi pa rin nag-reply, what should we do? Yun. So, As you can see, isa lang siyang maliit na task, which is invite a speaker. Pero marami siyang marami siyang small tasks that would help you accomplish that task. Seemingly small task. Pero marami pala siya under it. So, yun yung example nung ito sa deliverable. So, your mentor can also guide you with this sa breakout. Do we do this na ba? Or later? Sige,
Well,
maybe
maybe
Go, Aloy. Okay.
after the break.
Thank you, Aloy. Okay, may question ba dito? Meron pero project. Ala, hindi ko na-gets to. Project-based. Ano yung sinasabi ko dito kanina? Manpower marami.
Yung ano yan,
PYM.
budget ng PYM.
PYM. Okay. Thank you for that. So, kung walang questions, medyo clear ba so far? Hopefully, mas naliwanagan tayo in terms of the expectations na we're not really expecting you to do something big. Pero also, if you want to do something big, by all means, we'd be happy to support you. Ayun. Any questions, guys? Vince, Biel, Jeff, anyone? JM? Okay, Mika suggesting to cover. Sige, maybe, I'm just conscious of time. It's already 3:49. Sige, give me 5 minutes to do that. I think kaya naman. Okay, maybe some FAQs from you guys. When should the project be implemented? So, the expectation would be makapag-start na ng project implementation after SDG-LEAP. As you can see, that would be, so October yung last huddle natin. So October onwards, or last quarter of the year, project implementation na. Although, merong magandang point na na-raise during our body catch-up group, which is yung, I think, one of the projects being considered by Twinkle. Kasi yung idea niya would be yung for back to school, which is mangyayari na siya in the next few weeks or next month. So, yung response kay Twinkle would be, if you want to already start, that's okay. We can already launch our program. So parang nauna na si Twinkle mag-project. Pero yeah, if you feel like it's something na talagang you're passionate about, na kailangan na siyang gawin given the timeline na associated or relevant with it. Yeah, especially yung qual-ed na, mga qual-ed projects since Brigada Eskwela time na in the next few weeks. Okay, will Siley help us in project implementation? Yes, you can continue getting mentorship support from SDG-LEAP parents, body, and mentors. So 3 layers of support, no? So continue lang. In terms of other specific help, as mentioned yung sa promotion, inviting speakers if your project is a education or capacity building program. But again, the conversation must be driven by the leaper. So if you feel like you need all of these things, you have to message us. You have to talk to us para we can also, we can, masama siya dun sa plan or sa deliverable din namin. We'll silently provide funds. This was a discussion a while ago, actually. So we have a micro grant. Again, it's micro. I think super micro. It's not meant to be a project implementation fund, but can be allocated for admin support, for you guys to have access to Wi-Fi and other small expenses. So this micro grant will be provided to the top 2 to 3 teams later. So pag nag-pitch kayo, meron tayong, we will be inviting people to judge, to listen, para pumili ng mga top 3. For now, wala pa tayong, meron ng criteria, pero we're not gonna be releasing now. Pero the idea would be, it should be somehow may aspect of innovation, also realistic pa yung project. Of course, some form of impact. Yan yung mga siguro potential criteria. Okay, I'm getting different inputs from different people. What should I do? So again, that's expected when you parang take part in mentorship programs na may maraming tao who can provide different inputs from your peers, from your mentors. Our suggestion would be to make sure to listen to all of them and also assess, personally, ikaw talaga yung mag-a-assess how their inputs can be helpful for your own project. So you don't have to accept everything. Pero again, we will be guiding your thought process and aligning you also kung yun talaga yung expectation ng LEAP program. Can I launch a project targeting just my friends or people in my immediate circle? Yes, as mentioned. So we don't expect LEAPers to launch a big initiative. Intention is for you to learn more about project management cycles while also trying to help you discover your passion, interest, and leadership capacities. So in the process kasi, di ba, hopefully, napapaisip kayo na, okay, ito yung mga projects na gusto ko. Pero actually, may malalim na pinaghuhugutan yun, no? Hopefully. So that could speak about your passion, your interest. Ano ba yung laban na gusto nyong i-take or yung path na gusto nyong i-take. Then question number 7, I want to tie it up with the project with CULI. How can I do this? Na-mention na kanina, so you just have to talk to the LEAP parents, to any one of the SILE officers, and we will, discuss how we can make things happen. So like, example would be si Mark. So nag-chat si Mark for his project na mental health. So yung initial input kay Mark was pwede siyang i-tie up with the mental health division. Pero ayun, so magtutuloy-tuloy yung conversation kung ipo-push siya ni Mark. So kumbaga, dapat yung leaper talaga yung magpo-push nung proposal, not the mental health division ng SILE. So I think that's it for my bit. If you have other questions, you know what to do. For now, we'll be introducing quickly another tool that's important, especially this is a tool that personally I use sa development work. But Colleen will be sharing with you. So there's Business Model Canvas or BMC na ginagamit na ng mga startups, ganyan, entrepreneurs. Pero merong version for development work, so which is Social Model Canvas or Social Business Canvas. So Colleen, please take it away.
Thanks, Kuya Jap. So, as Kuya Jap mentioned a while ago, that we are going to introduce to you guys a social business model canvas. So it's actually derived from business model canvas. Usually, when we are creating businesses, we use this to visualize our building blocks when we are starting a project. So with here, social business model canvas, this is focusing on creating impact for the beneficiaries rather than creating profits. So we just really use this for the social enterprise or the passion projects we can do or we are planning to do or implement. So ito yung itsura niya. So we have key partners, key activities, key resources, value proposition, beneficiary relationship, channels, or beneficiary segments. I have included here guidelines for you to be able to answer this one. So for the key partners, we determine your project partners, key activities, you establish your project's process, and then for the key resources, what does your project needs? And then for your value proposition, this includes your products or services you wanted to implement. And then for the beneficiary relationship, you strategize your beneficiary interactions and your beneficiary segments, who are your main stakeholders who will benefit to this. Then for the channels, how will you be able to communicate your project? Diba, we do tied up with a partnership with different youth organization or NGO. And then for the cost structure, when you do the project, passion projects, hindi naman siya necessarily na you needed to earn profit or revenue to it, but rather, how will it benefit? But syempre, on your part, will it cost you something or may magagastos ka ba while implementing this project? And then for the revenue stream, saan ka kukuha ng pera for you to be able to implement this one? So ayun, hope you guys will use this one to fully visualize your project when you want to when you're starting. Ayun, for the breakout session, so few guidelines for the breakout session. So together with your body or mentor, finalize the passion project that you will propose and implement as part of the SDG-LEAP program. It is hoped that this project idea will now be focused of your mentorship attention in the next days or weeks to come. So do preliminary edit of your project pitch deck. So kanina Kuya Jap have already run through with the initial itsura nung project deck. This will be the same deck that you will be using when you discuss your project with your LEAP parents, body, or mentor. This will be an evolving document. So you can guys edit or edit kapag may need talagang i-change or that will be your source document na. So expected outputs from the breakout, final project idea, from quantity to just one project idea. So andoon na talaga yung pinaka-main na gusto nyong i-implement. And then rough draft of the deck. And then lastly, you will be given 1 minute each after the breakout to share your project idea. Ayun. I think we can start the breakout session.
Okay. Hi, Mika. You can enter your room.
Minumove ko sana si JM with Herman.
JM and Herman. Saan si Herman? Herman is JC's. Nag-request si JC ng load.
Okay.
Pero, sige.
Wait lang. Join lang.
Herman, are you there? Si Biel, wait
Nandito
lang.
ako, kuya.
Ayan.
Kaso taksa ko lang.
Carry lang. Do what you can. Ipasok ko si Viel with Viel, envy yung project mo, no? So far. Medyo environmental. Tama ba?
Yeah.
Okay. Sige, I'll put you muna there with Herman and JM. Viel, can you enter the room na? We sent you the invitation.
Ate Colleen, naririnig niyo po ako?
Hi, Jeff. Yes.
Hindi ko po alam kung bakit ako bumalik sa main session or na-end yung session or na-leave ko
Actually,
yung...
na-end na yung session. Kami din nakabalik na. I'm not sure with the others.
Thank you po.
So this is you. May tao. Wala ka ba na idea? What do you do with your idea?
Hi, everyone. How's the breakout session?
What are you saying?
Oh, I'm sorry. What okay? Hangguk man alaheyo.
Ani?
Ang bilis ng cut, Colleen.
Actually,
Okay, I think hindi naman natapos lahat. So, you guys can still continue that on your next meeting with your mentors or buddies. But I would just like to ask you guys if you guys have meron ba kayong initial output based dun sa breakout session? Wow. Mika says yes. Okay, baka pwede nating isapak yung yung deeper mo.
actually, yung project document template naman, yung ginawa namin. So, medyo sinolidify lang namin yung deliverables and yung tasks, some of which. Pero kulang yung time, my God.
I know.
We have 1 to 3 minutes per leaper siguro, Colleen.
Okay, can I call on Clara?
Sorry, Clara.
It's okay, kahit hindi finish. That's okay.
Go,
Hello
Clara.
po. Yung project ko po kasi cassava bags. Kaso po, gawa po siya sa India, yung original po. So, gusto ko po siya ibahin ng corn bags. Gawa naman po sa corn, pero dito naman po sa Philippines.
That's interesting.
Yung
Do you want
topic
to
ko po
get
is
your
sustainable
template?
packaging. Ay, wait lang.
Clara, kindly share yung template na lang.
Cassava bags po kasi yun nandito. Ayan.
Okay lang. Okay lang. Pag-uwi na lang natin in a while.
And working name of project, let's brag our sustainable bags. Then relevant SDG, SDG-12, and SDG-13. Social problem, since online shopping is in demand right now as a frequent customer of it too, the packaging of parcels are really harmful for our environment because it's plastics. Plastics are a headache. Imagine it takes 450 years to decompose. Thus, according to United Nations data on SSP-12, 5 trillion single-use plastic bags are thrown away each year. Then, ang ko naman po, solution, i-advertise ko po yung corn bags. Kasi po, gusto ko din pa-advertise yung company since dito po siya sa Philippines. Then, kasama bag po nakalagay dyan, babaguhin ko na lang po. Tapos yung pinag-usapan po namin ni Ate Mika, yung deliverables po. Tapos ayan po, yung month 1, month 2, hindi pa nga po tapos eh.
It's okay. It's actually nice, no? Concept is nice.
Yeah.
Yung resources needed, hindi pa po sure, babaguhin ko pa po. Yun lang po, thank you.
Magkakaroon kami ng separate session ni Clara maybe tomorrow to solidify really the template.
For sure.
Thank you,
Okay.
Clara. That's a great idea. Siguro, kung may mga quick feedback then from the parents, feel free to do so. Seconders na feedback. From my end, definitely it's a good project to have. It's product development, it's entrepreneurship. I know a lot of people na gumagawa ng mga bags. Maybe we can schedule a mentoring session with them also. Kung kailangan pa. Pero I think si Mika was able to get a mentor. Thank you, Clara.
Susugan ko na, sobrang quick lang. Sasabihin ko sana sa'yo, Clara, na Jap will be the best go-to person for this one because it's product development and medyo social antap siya. Pero gusto ko lang baka pwede mong lagyan ng arts and culture. Like, actually, I was also trying to sa personal business ko to, just in case gusto ko siya, gusto kong gawa ng mga bags, pero like for example, may mga Caloocan City something. Like for example, it's either Monumento, yung La Loma Cemetery, or yung mga bayani natin, na magmumukha siya talagang pwedeng something na on Caloocan City or something. We can feature some parishes or mga lugar or mga quotable quotes for instance. Mga ganun. Pero yun lang, quick input, baka lang lumipad yung isipan ko. Pero something for the long time na baka nga Siley can also do that. Inisip ko na siya na pwedeng gano'n na Caloocan City. Kumbaga yung ibang mga lugar, mga may tourist destination, may mga bag na Palawan. Why not ang Caloocan? Pwede tayong gumawa ng similar. So, there.
Uy, sorry, medyo anuhin ko lang, quick response lang on behalf of Clara. Hindi product development actually yung pinupush niya ha. So like, ang gagawin na ni Clara is that she will look for local suppliers of those bags and i-advertise niya yung businesses nila kasi nga green businesses ito to the online shopping community and also communicate with Shopee and Lazada to revise their provisions on packaging. So yun.
Okay, sige. With that. So ngayon, hanapin natin yung mga sinabi ko. So yun pala tayo din. Okay, G. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Herman.
Si Herman, nakatask na.
Eto lang, add ko lang. Kasi nung nakaraan, nag-chat kami ni Ate Mi about sa packaging sa Christmas. So parang, ayun nga, maganda din yung idea ni Clara. Like, pwede siya for incoming Christmas din. Like, hindi na natin kailangan magpunit-punit ng mga tanga doon, wrappers or ano, kasi nasasayang lang. And ayun, maganda na karoon ng bag. Na.
Okay. Anything more, guys? Or will transfer na to different leader?
Heart reacts for Clara. Thank you, Clara.
Good job, Clara.
Good job, baby.
Aww. Baka we can hear from Biel. Sino mentor ni Biel? Or Leap Buddy?
Kuya John Vic.
Oh.
Okay, so wait lang po, let me. So ito pa initial pa lang. So yung sa task and deliverables is actually wala pa. Okay. And I'm also using the document na attached sa email. Okay. So the working name of the project is DGCon or DGCon, Doing Green Conversations. The relevant SDGs here is SDG 11, 13, and 17. The social problem that I want to address is in the schools, because in the schools are where the students spend most of their time along with their homes. It is where students also learn important things. However, environmental awareness is lacking there. In fact, in our school, napapansin ko po na talagang yung waste segregation and solid waste management is hindi ganun ka-effective in our school. So my proposed solution here is a monthly digital series that will be inaugurated with challenge and reward system to promote engagement with the stakeholders. My proposed beneficiaries here are the educators, the students, and their families, because everyone owns a problem. So sa project timeline naman po, so wala pa yung sa task and deliverables. I still work on that. And sa resources needed, monetary, I think hindi naman siya totally needed, since this is a digital series, digital platform. Sa materials, same as well, or maybe internet infographic materials. Partners, maybe CYLA, maybe Siley will help me. Teachers as well. Environmental advocates to be guest speakers and panelists as well. Pilot school, which is my school, Genesis, students, student bodies, and their respective social media platforms to engage promotion as well.
Thank you, Viel.
Okay.
Quick feedback. It's very doable kasi you're targeting your school community, you're a student leader. You definitely know kung sino yung mga participants. Siley can help with the speakers for sure kung kailangan mo. And technology, Zoom account, promotion. Yun, quick lang.
Siguro, Viel, I think, I don't know if I have said it to you na, pero um, since you're targeting green conversations, kindly provide lang yung mga topics na you are considering. So, yun.
So the topics for that we are actually considering is about recycling, about solid waste management particularly, and segregation of waste.
Okay, sige. And also yung duration, like is this a series of webinar or a one-time, big-time project, mga ganun. So, yeah.
Nakaputang ko bang ilagay dito that this is a monthly digital series that will be around 3 or 4 sessions.
Okay, 3 or 4. Sige. G.
Thanks, Biel. Anyone who wants to share? Pwede mag-volunteer.
Maybe Viel can call the next one para faster.
Okay.
Voluntold.
Yeah,
Okay.
agree.
So I pick Vince.
Yung ka-school niya, syempre, tinawag niya.
Not really necessary.
Vince kayo today? Or pass?
Go, Vince. Yung initial idea lang, it doesn't have to be final.
Sige po. Explain ko na lang po. Bale, wala po muna ng presentation kasi hindi ko po nagawa. Bale, yung plano ko po kasi is, since many people are struggling financially, no, we need to inform them and teach them po how to manage their money in terms of investing, no? Kasi po, maraming mga tao na monthly or nung pag-payday nila is hindi nila na ma-manage yung pera nila ng maayos. Yes, pwede din. Ang solution po na nilaan ko para doon is to teach them or inform them the different ways to invest, no? Kung saan yung mga dapat na patutunguhan nung pera nila. Actually po, there are many ways, not just stocks, but also forex, foreign exchange, no? And then meron din real estate po. Tapos meron din po pang mga equities, mga bonds, no? Na pwede po nating ituro sa kanila mga basics. And then if nagustuhan po nila yung mga ideas na yun, mga basic ideas lang po yung ibibigay natin sa kanila para po ma-digest nila. And then pwede po nilang magamit yun na para bilang fundamentals para lalo pang mag-invest ng time and money dun sa knowledge na dapat nilang matamo dun sa gusto nilang investan ng mga ways na dapat pag-investan. So, ang target ko po sana is yung mga especially pwedeng iba't ibang tao, pwedeng mga kabataan, no? And then yung mga professional na sumasahod pero basta po kahit sino, basta nagtatrabaho or nagkakaroon ng income. Ayun po. Sorry po, medyo hilaw pa po kasi pinagpapanood ko po. Thank you po.
Thank you, Vince. Actually, our concept is, pwede ko bang i-share, Vince? Is piso para sa pagkatuto. It's actually talking about like when magtuturo kami or through webinar series and then that person will pay us piso in exchange. Ganon. So, ganon yung concept ni Vince. Ayun, I'm opening the floor to our leap parents para sa touch points.
Even leapers can also share anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Ako on my bit, I think financial literacy really is important, lalo na para malaman ng mga youth. Medyo hindi ko lang na-gets yung connection niya on why you should pay 1 peso for the financial literacy awareness. So, saan gagamitin yung funding na malilikom for that?
Actually, pinag-iisipan po yan namin ni ate. Kung ano pong gagawin namin dun sa piso ng matatang.
Okay. And also, target communities din, target school. Yun naman lagi yung yung kumbaga parang natin, ina-advocate. Kailangan meron tayong target communities. Alam natin kung sino yung mga beneficiaries natin and yung mga partners. So, yun. Tsaka yung metrics, clear metrics, like ilang schools yung targets nyo, ilang participants yung gusto nyo, ganyan. How would you say na successful yung project? Ganun.
Ako the demographics, no? Kung gaano yung kalawak yung kaya niyang matanaw when it comes to educating the people when it comes to financial talks. Ako, kasi if he's gonna start with the high school, college, or young professionals, ganun yung hinuhon ko sana sa kanya, is to know his audience when it comes to this matter. Kasi it's a big talk when it comes to financial literacy. It's a broad and wide range. Super dami mong topics na matatap. I think you need to focus on one part muna and then eventually grow. Para alam mo kung saan yung starting point mo when it comes to money talks. Ako, that's for me as your mentor. How about the others? Kuya Jap, Kuya Aloy, Herman?
None on my end.
For me, I'm happy to hear a proposal targeting youth economic empowerment. Medyo hindi siya na-focus ng SILE, which is kind of ironic because that's really my personal advocacy, which is entrepreneurship, ganyan, saving, investments. Definitely happy to also help out later, pero ang ganda ng mga points na sinabi ni Mika and Colleen. Target beneficiaries yon. Sinasabi mo na anyone can attend, pero as mentioned by Colleen, iba kasi yung approach when you have high school students in the audience. So si speaker, ita-tailor fit niya yung discussion dun sa mga high school na siguro how to get paano ba mag-earn while studying, which is maybe a discussion on freelancing, ganyan. Instead of saan ba gagamitin yung money, which for now, wala pa sila masyadong na-accumulate. So baka yung question ay, paano mag-accumulate ng additional sources of fund? Definitely excited for this project. Naisip ko rin, pwede rin siyang engagement activity. Nandiyan ba si Leo? Ayan. One of the practical, one of the practical skills that we can teach SILE members din, how to save, how to earn. Yeah, yun lang. Thanks Vince for sharing the idea. I understand hindi mo pa nagagawa yung template. I think to follow na lang yon. Maganda naman na mag-start tayo dun sa broad idea. Thanks everyone.
Thanks guys for supporting Vince. It's really appreciated. Vince, you may call another leader to present.
Yeah, Twinkle po.
Sorry, who?
Ate Twinkle, ate.
Okay, Twinkle.
Hello po, good afternoon. Just to give an idea lang po regarding dun sa projects na naisip ko. Hindi ko na po siguro siya i-present. Bale, I have 2 project ideas po for this program. Then yung una po is yung na-explain ko kanina kay Kuya Aloy, hindi ko na na-explain sa kanya yung pangalawa. So yung una is it's a community pantry which is school edition, wherein so parang ang nanggaling siya dun sa idea na parang kasi ba usually yung mga student from public schools, especially in the lower grade levels, nagsasagot lang sila sa on another piece of paper, hindi dun sa module itself, no? And given the situation that we are in a pandemic and a lot of the parents were parang naapektuhan sila with their work, no? And I think siguro mahihirapan yung iba na bumili ng other materials or other expenses which are outside their basic needs. So baka ma-compromise yung school materials or school supplies ng mga bata. So in this community pantry school edition, what we're targeting po are students from lower grade levels or kindergarten. So I would like to target yung public school in my community, which is the Paro Elementary School. So meron naman na pong contact, and as suggested din po ni Ate Keza, which is by Siley Body and and Kuya Aloy a while ago. So pwede po akong mag-conduct ng needs assessment kung ano talaga yung needs ng mga bata, no, kung ano yung mga materials and supplies na kailangan nila. And especially dun sa lower grade levels kasi mas kailangan nila kasi yun yung time, like na-mention din ni Kuya Alay ito, bakit kailangan na meron silang school supplies like pencils, colors, kasi that's the time din na nade-develop yung motor skills nila and yung gross skills nila, fine and gross motor skills nila. So I think baka makatulong yung school supplies na yun for them. So yun yung una po, no, yun yung una. And balak siyang i-partner with sa Brigada Eskwela program ng ng public school, which is ng DES din po. Yun nga lang po, as mentioned din Kuya Jack kanina, medyo magiging ahead lang siya kasi start na. Maganda po sana siya i-distribute during the first time na ibibigay yung modules ng mga bata for the first quarter, which would happen next month na rin po siya. So medyo kailangan ng ma-craft yung template and ma-polish yung template and yung other details pa po. Then ano pa pa? Then naisip ko lang din yung sa parang kasi community pantry. So I think ngayon na siya nag-sink in sa akin, Kuya Aloy. Bakit parang pwede tayong mag-allot. Like for example, ang dedicated lang po natin is for kindergarten and they have 6 sections with 40 students. Pwede po na tayong mag-allot ng ganong, yun na po yung target natin for that project. No? But since it's a community pantry, parang nasa sa kanila yun, ipukunin nila. Kasi ang naging question ni Kuya Alay kanina is, baka yung iba sa kanila, well-off naman or may kakayanan namang bumili. So, bakit hindi na lang po nung talagang nangangailangan? So, why don't we just ilagay siya doon that it's up to the parents whether kukuha sila nung tip or nung donation natin sa kanila. And so, ayun lang yung naisip ko for the community pantry. And the second project naman is more of a webinar which Ate Kisa had said na pwede daw po namin i-partner sa mental health kasi ang topic na naisip po namin is about, ano bang tawag dun, yung academic burnout. So, pwede siya mag-fall under QualEd and pwede rin siya mag-fall under MH division. So, ayun lang po yung 2 project ideas.
So, siguro unahan ko na lang din, very, very quick. Yung sa community project, is that a physical setup? And if it's a physical setup, may target school ka na ba for that?
Yes po, for yung sa Paro Ellen nga po.
And also, since community pantry siya, we'll be also asking for donations and everything. So, maybe craft a comp plan on how you could gather donations for the community pantry. So, yeah.
For me, Roxelle, are you implementing 2 projects? So yung isa parang, pwede na kasi yung isa, no? Immediate na. Tapos later, pwedeng post SDG. Okay. For the community pantry, same question actually kung virtual ba siya. Kasi when we do it virtual, we can get more people to donate or pledge. Tapos padala na lang nila sa isang specific address. And then, siguro yung concern ko, I want to be able to ensure na yung recipients would be those who really need them, the supplies. Pero yun nga, we need to tie it up. We need to make sure na yung community pantry model kasi 'di ba give and take siya. kung community pantry ba talaga. Although yun talaga yung buzzword ngayon. So for sure, madali siya maintindihan. And then secondly, nakita ko lang the other day, yung isang org ay may ganito rin sila, parang brigada. Tapos meron silang tawag doon, collection din ng material. So basically what they're doing, paparaffle sila. Sabihin lang nila, okay, we have 100 slots for the raffle. Tapos siguro we can set a fixed price kung 500 pesos ba yan per raffle slot. Pero yung idea na, okay, 100 slots lang to, parang sobrang dali niyang i-market. So like individually for our friends, pwede natin ma-invite. Okay, meron ditong slot, kuha ka naman 200 pesos lang. Tapos may countdown tayo na, okay, ilan na lang natitirang slot? 70 na lang, o kuha pa tayo. 60 na lang, hanggang ma-fill natin. Kumbaga yung sense na meron siyang target. Parang feeling ko, it's easier kasi we're targeting a specific number. Maybe you can consider that also. Yung academic burnout, I think it's true for all the webinars. Sobrang doable. It's just really a matter of, scheduling, calendaring, especially if you're planning to top Siley for promotion. Since we have an ongoing SDG Con, which is ending ng October. So mga November, December, okay na tayo. Pero yeah, definitely these are great project proposals. Thank you, Twinkle.
Call on the next leaper, Twinkle. Jeff or Mark?
Si Mark muna.
Hello po, magandang hapon po. Share ko po yung yung nagawa ko pong slide. Pero minadali ko lang po siya para ma-present po ngayon.
Taray, may slide agad.
Yan po, kita niyo po.
Yes, naka-deck agad. Pwede.
Yan, bali, yung PFA response training, nakuha ko po siya sa idea ni Kuya Jap nung last catch up po namin. Kasi nga, ang mental health po talaga is yung focus ko sa advocacy. So, ito po, yung problem. So, mental health well-being issues like anxiety and stress brought by pandemic and quarantine. So, before ako mag-come up sa project ko po is, nag-ask din po ako sa mga kasama ko sa council and pinakita ko po sa kanila yung SDGs, yung yung mga magiging topic sa SDG Con. Kasi ko po sa kanila ano yung gusto nilang sa tingin nila magiging pasok sa issues or problems sa kinakaharap namin sa ministry or sa council. And karamihan sa kanila is nag-push ng mental health. And ako personally, bago ko sila i-ask, yun din po yung gusto kong i-push na project. So, yun po. Sabi nga po ni Kuya Ryan kanina na hindi ka pwede mag-come up agad sa solution nang hindi mo inaalam yung pinaka-root or yung pinaka-problem ng community. Tapos, yung solution ito po, since my org is want to create a another committee that focus on mental health, I want to give my fellow youth servant a training about how to respond sa psychological needs. Since galing po ako sa faith-based organization, parang for me, aminado naman ako na kaya lang namin ibigay sa mga members namin is yung spiritual comfort sa mga problemang pinagdadaanan nila sa mga mental health. So parang gusto ko naman na magkaroon din kami ng idea kasi parang parang pag spiritual, tapos hindi namin alam baka may kailangan kaming gawin din na related pagdating sa psychological something. So parang gusto ko magkaroon din kami ng idea para hindi yung mga bata hindi pa ulit dun sa cycle na nangyayari sa kanila. So ando na yung spiritual, ando na din yung psychological needs. So parang kahit pa paano matutulungan namin sila through PFA training. Tapos yun nga po yung beneficiaries ko is yung sa parish youth council po namin. Bala ko po talaga sa council lang namin pero gusto ko na rin siya i-share sa vicariate po namin, sa buong vicariate namin sa Bagong Silang. So, sabi nga rin po ni Kuya Ryan na paggagawa ka ng project, dapat hindi siya magugulo after nung matapos yung project. Kumbaga hindi sila magugulo. Kumbaga dapat mapapabuti mo isang community and kaya nilang i-duplicate or i-replicate yung project na gagawin mo. So, gagawin ko po kasi sa project namin is, hindi lang din po kami, is mag-i-invite din po kami sa ministry namin yung mga professional na po na may background sa psychology para way na rin po namin para itap yung shoulder namin na need namin sila sa ministry. And baka sa susunod na magkaroon kami ng PFA is baka possibly sila yung susunod na ah, mag mag-facilitate po ng mismong PFA namin saka mga susunod na gagawin namin. So, hindi ko po siya totally natapos lahat, pero ito pa lang po yung resources na nalagay ko. Una yung sa materials po, yung sa Zoom, yung sa certificate. Yan, in-edit pa po siya ni Kuya Leonard. Tapos sa partnership naman po, yun sa CYLI nga po, na sabi ni Kuya Jeff, ni Kuya Jap, pwede ako makipagtulungan sa mental health division since magkakaroon sila ng PFA training po. Tapos yun, sa PYM nga po, yung bilang participants po nila, bilang participants po na mismong project. Tapos sa may project timeline naman po, as of na wala pa po kasi hindi ko pa po siya na alam kung paano yung magiging process po ng mismong PFA po. Yun lang po.
Sige, mauna na ulit ako. Mark, I'm speaking kasi part din ako ng, narinig naman ako. Part ako ng parish youth ministry din. And nakaka-relate ako dun sa problem kasi I think ito medyo advice na lang din, one of the targets talaga muna for this specific activity are the youth leaders. Kasi I've been experiencing, like for example, opening up to, di ba, aware ka naman sa JAM, di ba? Yung Jesus and Me
Yes po.
seminar. Yan.
Yes po.
So, meron doon like one-on-one session with basta nag-open tayo ng mga skeletons in our closets basically. Pero ang kadalasan kasing sagot sa atin, 'di ba, is that ipagpe-pray kita, ganyan 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 ganyan. Pero after the seminar, ano na yung ginagawa talagang concrete actions for us to help our jammers or our participants. So, etong PFA responders training, ganyan, and yung talaga, psychological support, it's very important for the PYM leaders kasi hindi lang spiritual talaga yung pag-touch nila dun sa topics. There's science to it, or there's basis sa mga advices na ibibigay nila. So, I guess you could start with the leaders muna for this one. Target mo muna kasi sila kailangan rin ng emotional maturity para ma-adopt nila yung concept ng PFA trainings. So, yun lang. Thank you.
Ako, medyo nakapagbigay na ako ng initial inputs to Mark. Ayun, siguro alignment na lang din with the MH division. Sino yung mentor natin for MH? Si Colleen and Aloy ata. Ayan. Alignment in terms of calendar. Pero actually, even without partnering with MH, I think doable siya. Pero since it's a virtual event, para lang din mas marami yung maka-attend or mas malawak yung ma-involve natin. Yun. I think MH Division can help out in that regard also.
Another on my end. Hi Mark, kumusta? Sobrang malapit sa puso ko yung project. Pero yun lang, pwede mo i-consider na yung PFA training, hindi siya nakakuha ng isang seminar lang. Kumbaga, nasa na yung skill. Hindi din yan isang buwan, nagtitraining ka, nasa na yung skill. So, madaming nagpapatraining, even sa Siley we did that, pero iba pa din yung nagkakaroon ka ng pool. Yun siguro yung pool of PFA responders. And then yun talaga yung tuloy-tuloy and continued yung learning nila. Madaming model on PFA na pwedeng gamitin. Look, listen, link, for example, meron for other types of scenarios. Andyan, they are all on Google. Pero ang lang talaga diyan yung willingness na to really commit for that. Tapos sa akin lang, kung ito'y magiging PYM based, community based, check natin yung need talaga sa community. Iba kasi yung concept na baka akala lang natin kailangan natin siya sa church because of nangyayari. Pero baka yun nga, yung iba din yung context sa church kung doon mo siya gagawin na merong spiritual side. Pwede yun, may ganung aspeto. Pero very looking forward for the fruit of your project. I hope that will not just remain as an idea, pero magawa mo talaga. And willing to help and support, especially with networks. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the inputs. Lastly, we will call, may last pa tayo, no? Tama ba? Jeff?
Yes po.
Ayun, go, take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon po, everyone. Maybe I can start with the project name. So this project is entitled, or maybe titled, Community Garden, and along with the compost pit. So I'm still thinking of a creative name or project name where I can combine these interconnected projects, the community garden and the compost pit. So with the covered SDG, of course, the climate action SDG 13, quality education, SDG 4, and the zero hunger, SDG 2. So those are the SDG that are being covered with my project. Well, with the issues I am observing in our community, so maybe as a whole sa city natin, is that the rapid process of urbanization, where green spaces continuously declining. So maybe it's not that big project, but we can address with a little initiative where we can maybe start with the community garden. Parang kasi ang nangyayari, 'di ba? Parang yung kailangang space ng mga tao para sa shelter nila, parang nawawala na tayo ng green spaces. So with that, maybe I can localize the project of the community garden, so to support the food security rin. And so with that, that solution I am thinking are this. First is agri-kit. So na-address na to sa SDG Challenge SDG 1 ni Ate Mika, na na-distribute na din siya. Maybe I can use that idea in starting my project, the aggregate. So that's one of the key materials then I'll be needing moving forward. And of course, to address the SDG 4, maybe I can start with the webinar specifically talking or discussing about the food security or proper planting techniques. So before I impose or before I go with my project, maybe I can start educating people first. And collection of organic trash through compost pit. Kasi this is the common misconception we can observe in our community. Parang tong mga taong to, mali. Mali yung term. Parang mostly tayo, parang the common misconception, lalo na mga matatanda, sinusunog nila yung mga organic trash, especially yung mga nabubulok na yung mga dahon na lalagdag sa puno. Parang ang conception nila doon para sunugin para makapagpabugaw ng mga lamok or makapatay. So baka kaya ko din siyang i-address sa project with the compost pit. Parang gagawa lang ako ng parang area or maybe trash space where they can put their organic trash. So that's one of the technique or solution I am looking for or I'm looking forward. And target communities, of course, neighbors sa community kasi namin or within the area lang. Parang mostly din sa kanila parang nagtatanim-tanim. So baka I can gather them tapos mag-start ng community initiative. Neighbor, partners and beneficiaries na rin. And I have specific target beneficiaries, which are the street dwellers. So since then, I really wanted to address the issue about the food, these street dwellers. Parang nahihirapan siya sila, parang nagiging passion ko na siya before. So with this project, maybe I can address their issue about food. Parang if this will be successful, tapos may magiging product na baka we can give the product to them. And sa materials needed, of course, the agri-kit and the Zoom account for the webinar. And the most important thing is the lupa. So I'm still thinking and considering the space we have here. baka pwede siyang gawing space. But looking forward pa rin to partner with Attorney TJ, if I'm not mistaken, sa Green, kalimutan ko.
Attorney JC.
Yun po. Ayun, si Attorney JC. Tapos, yun lang po for now. Sa deliverables, wala pa kasi hindi ako umabot. Iniwan ako ni Kuya Jack. Hindi, joke lang. Thank you po.
Sorry, tumalon-talon ako ng mga rooms. Thank you, Jeff.
Sige, birang. Bilang climate action mentor mo na rin. And ayun nga, nakapag-launch na nga rin tayo ng sarili nating parang medyo urban gardening. I would like to ask, physical setup tong gagawin mo, no, na community garden. Kasi yung ginawa natin with Siley is that we distribute the kits to your own homes. So hindi talaga siya like community garden. Pero this one is a community garden in which the whole community shall be a part of taking care of that garden. So am I right na physical setup to?
Yes po.
Okay. So some points to consider is that sino-sino yung mga tao na makakatulong mo for the planting. So syempre sila yung doon mo sa kanila ibabahagi yung knowledge on how to plant and everything. And I think it's also important na ma-inculcate sa kanila yung sense of ownership na this is not your property. Yung mga tanim na tinanim mo dito, kahit sino pwedeng kumuha. That's the purpose of community gardens. Hindi porke ikaw nagtanim, ikaw ang makikinabang. So, nagtanim ka for the benefit of all. I think that's one of the values na kailangan mong i-impart doon sa mga makakatulong mo for the community garden. And then, yung idea mo na i-distribute siya to the street dwellers. The street dwellers kasi I don't know if you're targeting yung mga may mga sariling lutuan kasi yung agri-kits natin mostly siya, mga gulay siya. So kailangan mo pa siyang lutuin. And kung urgently needed na mga street dwellers yon, if you really wanted to address their hunger immediately, they need to have ready to eat na foods. So I think much better if it's something like fruits or I don't know. Basta ganun. Kailangan lang yung hindi siya niluluto. Yan. Thank you.
Thanks, Mika and Jeff.
Thank you po.
Okay. Kuya Jeff, go.
Week lang. I think nabigay ka na yung ibang inputs. Pero yung project ni Jeff, kasi kanina di ba we were talking about project complexity. So may mga easy projects, tapos may mga medyo complex. So I think yung kay Jeff could fall under one of the complex projects. Kasi it's really asking you to do community organizing. Punta dun sa neighborhood, although community mo siya, pero kailangan mong maghanap ng space kung pwede, saan pwedeng gumawa ng community garden. You have to talk to the different peoples. Sino yung may-ari ng land, barangay ba kailangan kausapin, mga neighbors, etc. It's a lot of work. Pero the impact that it can give later if it's successful is also high. So I think sort of saying it's one of our dream projects in Siley, to be honest. We'll support you all out in your project, Jeff. Pero again, as mentioned, you will be driving the conversation. It's good na you're part of CA. So maybe you can focus on this. And yeah, so this has been done by other people. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to talk to them and, ask them how they did and where they started and yung mga challenges nila. I promise to connect you to JC and to Agria din for our moving forward in the next few weeks.
Thank you po.
Anything more to add from our LEAP parents or buddies? Okay. Let me just share my screen. I think nakapag-present naman na lahat. And thank you guys for staying up to this time. Really appreciate it. So just for a few reminders before we end. So I hope to see you guys on the next SDG Con. That will be next week. And please don't miss your body group catch up I hope you guys will take the initiative to call us out if you want to schedule it. Well, of course, session with your mentors or leap buddies para makapag-discuss tayo thoroughly with your projects. I love all your projects na this one. It's all viable and valid. So, super nakakatuwa marinig kasi very different personalities, very diverse concepts. Ang galing. Ayun. So, for the SDG Con challenges, it's not required, but it would be great if you guys take an effort to do it. And lastly, see you guys in Huddle 5 for the project pitch or mentoring session or personal leadership. Gabi, malapit na matapos, guys. And I hope makaka-attend kayo in a complete attendance. Thank you, guys. So for our schedule lang for this coming weeks. So for August 4, SDGCon 5 by Siley Media and Information Literacy Division. September week 1 of September, body group catch up. Schedule a session with your buddy or mentor to talk, help with your project proposal. Okay. And others, review, do challenges, review recordings, SDG-LEAP or SDG-Con. Ayan. Pwede naman balikan. Kaya naman balikan, guys. If you want to a thorough run through with what happened from the past. So, ayun. That will be on your week 1 and week 2. For the week 3 naman, ayan na. SDG-LEAP Huddle 5 and 6. Guys, malapit na. Abangan niyo yung project pitching kasi super makaka-help to when it comes to your implementing the project.
Nakapasok lang ni JC.
JC!
Oh my gosh.
Hello, sorry. Gusto mo ba mag-present? Charot.
Next time na lang.
Ayun. We've come to an end.
Ayan.
Ayan. Thank you guys for staying with us and see you in SDGCon 5. Thank you guys.
Siguro before we end, quick messages na lang from the leap parents if meron pa. And then any feedback regarding today's session then from the leapers, we'd love to hear. So simulan ko na from my end. Again, thank you for committing to this program. Can't imagine 4/6 na tayo. And then yung next 5/6 na. Again, this is just part of our change-making journey. Hopefully you're learning, you're getting a lot of concepts and all of these things that we're trying to integrate sa program. You heard about the different ideas ng mga different fellow leapers. If we could request you, if you can give feedback to your fellow leapers, feel free to chat with them. Talk to your body group. Feel free to just give anything, parang feedback, recommendations, tap in the back, whatever. And then, ano pa ba? Finally, ayun, we'd love to hear more updates regarding your project proposal. Balikan lang natin yung G-slide. Siguro in the next 2 weeks, may mga laman na siya. It doesn't have to be wordy kasi when you do a project pitch, which explains sa Huddle 5, usually dapat hindi siya wordy, tas medyo mag-graphics siya and everything. So, yan, put lang kayo ng different other things pa to cement your idea. That's it from me. Thank you also to Colleen for leading Huddle 5. Ayan, one of our strategies para ma-share din yung responsibilities among us. So, Mika was the lead last time. Si Colleen naman this time. I think si Janvic na next time. And then everybody sa end. Ayan, thank you JC for catching up. We have the recording, although wala yung recording ng mga breakout. Pero if anyone has other thoughts from Siley execs, Aloy, Mika, Colleen. If not, punta tayo sa Leaper then later.
Ako guys, let's include lang Brian, your fellow leaper in our prayers as always. He's fighting his own battle right now. And then sa ngayon siguro yun, kung maka-extend, kamustahin nyo siya. Yun din siya. And then second lang, you remember lang yung words ng aking advisor nung ginagawa ko. Yung para din siyang LEAP project, yung thesis ko naman. Sinabi niya lang, bakit mo ginagawa yung thesis? So para is it just for compliance? Pero yung tumatak sa akin sa sinabi niya, sana ginagawa mo yung thesis kasi gusto mo magkaroon ng value, parang value added maging value added yung thesis mo or yung project mo sa society natin. Hopefully, when you think about your LEAP project, kahit isang tao matulungan yan, 2 tao, 3 tao, pero you know that it will contribute to something, do it. And Siley will support you all the way. So, 안녕하세요. 감사합니다. 네.
네, 감사합니다, 여러분. 잘 지내세요.
Top.
Last group photo requested by JC. Pagbigyan natin. Leo, can you
Hi,
join?
JC. First time lang namin magkita virtually.
Can we hear nila from later? Ayan, mag-bonding kayo later, Herman. Pero we'd love to hear also, before the photo, do we have a volunteer? One male and one female or one non-binary? Okay lang din? Anyone? Or mag-volunteer?
That's for what, Kuya Jap?
Ha? Feedback for today's session.
Yeah, okay.
Manifestations. Charot. Manifestations.
It was really a productive and meaningful.
I think you're having a feedback over there.
This Huddle 5 is a very productive one and a meaningful one, especially the discussion a while ago about project management and other topics that we have been discussed with our speakers. I hope that the discussions before will help all of the leaders and all of us to develop our skills and, your passion towards the projects that you are trying to push for. So I hope that everyone is happy and have their full heart with what they are doing for this for the project they are trying to push for. So that's all po for my end. Thank you.
Ayan. Thank you, Leo. My body. O nga pala, hindi natin natanong din yung body. Thank you, Leo, for representing the bodies. How about from the leapers?
Go Leapers.
Or one from Northern Advocacy Seeker. Sige, wala. Body group na lang muna.
Go Jeff. Tinawag na.
Jeff, Vince, Twinkle, Mark.
Go po ba?
Go na.
Feedback po. Sobrang na-amaze po ako sa first speaker. So parang yung concept niya sobrang applicable. Tapos tawag dito, parang magagamit ko siya to localize our projects, lalo na sa acronym ng develop. So I love those. I love that. And sa project ideation, especially sa sharing kanina, sobrang ganda po knowing that we have diverse personality and we have diverse with that we have diverse project as well. And hindi lang siya naging isa. So we can actually address several issues in our community, and that's a good point for me. And to our LEAP parents, sobrang ganda po ng mga comments, especially for us, I mean, na bago lang sa project ideation o sa project management process. Parang yung mga hindi namin nakikitang puntos, nabibigay nyo sa amin, which are actually good and parang kami rin yung magbe-benefit. Thank you po.
Sabi ni Mika, ang ganda namin. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Go, Herman.
Nakikinig si Herman.
Ang kulit lang.
Sorry. Team 2.
Team 2.
Ako naman po for my
Good Raymond.
team 2. Anyway, for me naman po in my feedback, I agree din with Jeff na napakadami pong learnings, especially from the first speaker. Talagang most of the points there, pwede po namin mag-admit for our project edition. And dun din sa aming mga present one by one individual na mga proposed projects. Grabe, yung iba nga nag-overlap pa sa ng isa't isa. Meron din yung iba na diverse, meron din yung iba na interconnected to one another yung mga projects. So maybe in the future, makikita natin yung mga yun na they cooperate with each other. And hopefully sana, makita natin into reality lahat ng mga yun. And the organization po ng Huddle 4 ngayon is maganda naman. Maganda yung, yun nga lang I think medyo sumobra po tayo sa oras, but kahit naman sumobra tayo sa oras, kumbaga sulit naman yung overtime.
Special mention ko lang yung mic ni Biel. Social.
Ask ko lang, kumakanta ka ba, Viel? May mic ka eh. Baka pwede ka mag-sample.
Sample.
Actually, po na
Yes. Yung intermission event, sige, sa Huddle 6 na lang. Pero nag-guess na siya last time.
Dapat may talent presentation lahat eh.
Bago mag-pitch.
Si King, talent presentation na siya ng AMAA.
Of it. Okay, last group photo, guys. Special request of JC. Hello, Baymax. Leo. Ayan. Game. 1, 2, 3.
Can we
Okay.
have a number 4 sign? Dapat pala na ganito tayo before. Ready?
1, 2, 3. Ayan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Clara, meron tayo mamaya.
Ayaw paawat.
Ay, mami. Mentoring session nyo. Ayan, Jay-Z, meet Herman. Herman, meet Jay-Z.
Ilang beses ko na
Actually,
kinukulit si
nag-chat na
Herman.
kami.
Herman, meet Ryan.
Aww.
Ang cutie.
Ayan, feel free to stay sa mga chika. Chismis.
So, ito na nga.
So, ito na nga yung nangyari.
Tapos, ito pa.
Ito na nga. Next Saturday, magpo-coms tayo.
Pwedeng wala ng recording.
Ay, umapan.
Oo nga.